And yeah, big apologies to people who are watching Onivia's stream. I forgot to hit the go live button.
Oh no! But that's fine. Rookie eats a Winds of War trade, and that's about that. As mid lane, just a bit of shove happening. Not really all that much to write home about in the grand scheme of things. Disintegrate. There we go. That's the name of it. Move up towards that top lane. Here's the Annie. I'm realizing to finish that sentence. Nico looking to put a ward down. Gonna be able to do that though with the Bard just warding that one off. Grub spawning in about 5 seconds.
If hang on a second, we're hopping over. Quite far behind in XP. That is a problem because things can fall apart if the Vi is very, very easy to kill. Good stun onto Kyle there.
Ooh, nice idea from Kyle, but Rookie very fast on the turnaround.
Club's now potentially started. Good damage from the Nico actually, weirdly through there too. One down immediately. Smite used. Do they go for the one and out? Flounder else in.
Carla gonna be able to hop over the wall, but now has had to arcane shift out. Shanks also around. Lots of ults still up and available. Tarzan with the steadfast presence in the back of the pit. No flash on this Poppy. Should be able to secure that grub regardless. 1-to-1. That'll be the second by the smite secure. So IG have got that, and now AL trapped in the back of this pit. This is a bit awkward.
They have the magical journey, but what cooldowns it on?
Oh, Tempered Fate buys some time into the backline with the Vault Breaker and the cease and desist. Way will be traded by Hope at the back of the pit. Tarzan so down low. Keeper's verdict knocks one away, but Rookie flashes out. The Justice Punch gets one onto the Nico. Flash away. I think in the end it's a 2 for 2.
I mean, Wei doesn't die. Wei survives somewhere in the middle of that. So, I mean, it's only one dead in the grand scheme of things around the grub fight, I believe, right? Gallo's punted out. I believe AL somehow only got one. I could have sworn that Wei should have died at the back end of that. Hope jumping out of the pit, not able to get that much done. IG walk away with 2 grubs. They walk away with the better from that fight, I believe. And AL get a little bit outplayed. No, the clone ends up blocking out the Scion ultimate. Gala gets to sit around, stack up Conqueror. This is not the point where the Ezreal's even like at his massive point of power. Three-person Ezreal really definitely helps that. You can see that Anyo's Legend really struggled to get their front line in position. Flandra goes off to the side, tries to keep the Shy out of the pit, and I do understand that, trying to stop that ult from coming through. This is where things get really messy, though. The Bard ult comes through, Q over the top of it, ult out to follow Kyle too. That's a bad flash, at least get the Vi trapped into that ultimate. And then somehow Wei ends up surviving. Yeah, manages to hop away from Hope. Q back over the wall. Great escape from Wei there. So the rest of the fight vaguely goes in IG's favor.
Does indeed. 2 for 1 in the end. Kills remain even. Slight lead to IG now, but only a few hundred gold, but good from them. They get the grubs as well, so on the whole, a positive fight, partly off Wei's shenanigans. Now, of course, Gala just eating a rocket there. Hope with the big one to work with and a frostbomb one to make her. A bit wary is actually the Gatling gun damage onto that Nico. Alongside that rocket, it's gonna sting.
See that Mako, yeah, needs to, well, he does have the flash, potential the Pop Blossom here.
In comes that Tibbers. Tarzan, a bit of damage. He's going to be able to run away as the Tibbers is used.
The bot side of the map, see that Flandre still holding a decent matchup against the Shy. Doing very well here, actually. Good damage there. Has ult. Actually, good force a flash out of the Shy. Has his ultimate coming up in a few seconds, and Flandre decides to not test those waters just yet. Farming up on this top side. Shanks is not going for the full damage build. Flandre still has ult. I wonder if the Shy needs to back off here. I guess he has the ult to go unstoppable. Could potentially lock up Flandre under the turret too. Wave's going to come in. Doran's shield coming through. Wei, can he get onto Shanks? No flash on the Galio, of course.
No, I think just about surviving for now. Good taunt. Wei short to that Vault Breaker. The Shy having to back away, and he's actually down a significant amount now.
Yeah, he is. So that's not bad from anyone's Legend. The Ambessa being a little far behind is important. A little far. 1,000 gold by this point. Very far behind. That is important because the Ambessa kind of needs to be self-sufficient at some point. Dive in, be able to be tanky enough to not cast any dashes to escape while the Poppy's Wing. and then you get out afterwards. You have to be patient in the Ambessa against this kind of comp. Of course, the taunt from the Galio, of course, another thing which sometimes you just have to face tank sometimes. Try and work your way out with the lifesteal and arm vamp just a little bit later. Dragon has spawned. Might say that. It's the same. I just assumed it was the second one. Nope. Still the first one. No one's bothered taking that just yet. Everyone wants to stay in lanes. Everyone wants to be angling for fights instead.
Anyone's Legend. One game up so far in this series. Has just taken down BLG in a playable position this game. Again, they do want to make things start happening soonish because we had some issues potentially with their damage profile. What they need to do in fights basically involves using their incredibly bulky response options to keep Corki alive. This game gets late enough, the Ambessa, the Ezreal, going to be very difficult to deal with, I think.
Yeah, hugely so. AL, if Hope doesn't get a perfect team fight, AL have no damage. Realistically, they have no damage. Well, they might have enough to blow someone up as a 4-man unit. You were talking about the base damages a little earlier when we were looking at the end of draft. And while I think that's true, I don't think that's going to be enough to carry a full fight. Perhaps AL can look for picks, but I don't think that's what their team comp really necessarily wants. IG being even at this point, having the Corki a little bit behind the Ezreal, that's what they want. Kyle, potential of a play here, is off of vision, has flash, has ult, has a missed magical journey as well.
Hope eats a decent chunk there from Nico, who's got an alternator, so we'll be able to do quite a lot of work, and Hope managed to skate out of that Blooming Burst, sorry, Blows of Lilia, I keep doing that, they're very similar ability names.
Kyle gets control of mid lane. What's happening on the rest of the map? Jungle support resetting for AL.
Ow. Walks into that, shall be able to back away with the repudiation of the Eclipse Shield. That's still not exactly a fun option as immediately forced off the wave again.
Instead, get some decent healing back, of course. Get some healing.
-1.
First item hit now for AD carries, Triforce for both of them. Perhaps AL see that as a go point. I think one item is legitimately where AL the strongest point that they'll be in, because again, the base damage just goes pretty high. Oh my god, not again.
That's twice one with the Soul Furnace after as well. The Shy, what is going on? You've played against Sion enough by this point. I think you might just be dead, by the way. He's going to have to force a flash at the very least.
Flandra.
Yes, he does. Public execution, trying to turn this around, and that'll be ult for ult and flash for flash.
The Shy getting pretty decent value out of that, though. Hang on, Wade's going down now.
So
Kyle and Tarzan. I don't think the Shy could do that much about this. I don't know about taking that fight, Wade.
Yeah, it doesn't get stunned to the wall, but it's going to get flashed in afterwards, and that one will work. Will do some work there with the Cease and Desist. The Tempered Fate to turn off the turret. Wade's going to have to flash. Magical Journey to the other side. Vault Breaker Shield is not enough to stop that from happening.
Oh, anyone's Legend jungle support plays come up to the play. 3 kills now for Tarzan. Yeah. Just as you were saying, and he's not stunned to the wall. Turns out there's another person who can stun to the wall, and they had a better show of it. So while the initial Bard binding didn't land, well, it set up for the next one, didn't it? First turret will go to the side of anyone's Legend. We were just saying, anyone's Legend. One item is where it feels like their damage really comes to a peak with their more tanky members, and they make good use of it there.
Good value again, as this Scion being ahead 40-odd CS, by the way, is pretty damn well for Shy of all people. Notorious laning specialist. Herald's going down. Flandre's TP'd in. I don't know how much he gets here. He tries to find the fight, and actually may now spot a bother as TP comes on in from Galio. It's going to force an awkward retreat path from IG, who get a decent chunk onto the mid lane turret at least.
Yeah, I mean, he's tanky enough to not worry about too many things. There's Tarzan going into the enemy jungle. Ambassa had set up a freeze in bot side, so there will be some farm denied by the Shy. He's going to slow push it out now that anyone's Legend wants to be proactive elsewhere on the map. And, well, yeah, I don't think he expected everyone to turn up in the way that they did. Great wall stun from Tarzan as well, as Poppy has been very, very strong. Yes, the initial escape from Way is not bad, actually. And just to wait out the W, flash out of the Scion Q. Tower stand off, though. He can't really wait until the extra Q comes through. Tarzan's move speed keeps him right on top of him.
Max gets a passive auto off on the turret top side, gets himself a fair chunk on that one. And AL find themselves up about 1,000 or so gold, just shy, and it's in some fairly useful positions. I think Flandre in particular, the Scion being obnoxious in the front line, could mess with the likes of this IG comp, who are going to need a little bit of time to get to the point where they do kill tanks reliably. Especially when one of your major tank killers in the Ambassador with all her armor pen off the ult stacks and levels. It's going to take a little while to get there.
Fighting over the mid lane prio again, dragging it under a minute from any for either team, I suppose. And it's Legend yet to get the first. Tarzan, hang on a second, you don't have flash there, buddy.
Going to be okay with the steadfast presence. Interrupts the Vault Breaker, gets a pop blossom for his time.
Yeah, then good trade back onto Mako. You lose a lot of HP too. Bot lane, I mean, yeah, Flandre out trading the Shy. I will say though, while you know that's looking pretty good for them, Shanks is getting blasted up here, under half HP. Wei can go in with the ults.
What Shanks can do to stay alive. Good flash away from the Vault Break, but the Cease and Desist into the Incinerate combo means it's still likely a dead Galio. The shielded Durand CC and Resist do a decent work of buying some time, enough to get one back. Nice work.
Well, okay. I don't think that's about Shanks' play there. That's Mako walking in, tanking an extra shot completely unnecessarily and dying. That's a freebie. He was dead to the next skill shot coming through. Even got blocked by the Herald itself. Mako, my dude, you can't be making mistakes like that.
Picture-in-picture replay. We also saw Flandre managed to get a really well-timed ultimate onto the Shy, TPing into the lane. So got a huge amount of damage. Just Tartan in a 1v2, about to try and murder Rookie. Kyle will get one. Tempered Fate to keep Tarzan alive. And buy time for Flandre to turn up and roar like a slayer. And they get 2 kills.
Rookie flashes into Kyle, who's completely on vision in the tri-brush. I think he was spooked a little bit, loses the summoner, dies anyway. And IG, they're losing their heads a little bit. This is a composition they will win with later. You don't have to be throwing yourself to the wolves like this. Anyone's Legend, credit to them. Better rotations around the map. Garland going for the 1v1.
Ooh, can't quite light it. The Rocket Bell thought up for Kyle's out there with a magical journey. It's all just buying some time. Tarzan with a heroic charge on the wall. True shot barrage is wide. Going to jump on forwards. Mystic shots rolling. And Gala nearly gets some kills. It's close run stuff. Flandre gets the tier 1 while all of the knife fighting is happening mid.
Anyone's Legend are everywhere on the map, particularly Taz and Kyle everywhere on the map. And IG are not in a position where they can spot them coming early. They don't have that vision control down to spot them all over the place. They will get themselves a second dragon. And reminder, folks, we do think that IG really do have a better team comp later on because it feels like AL will run out of damage. But for now, they are moving around the map and they're taking fights where they can get them well.
Get some solid value. Again, this Scion is 1,700 gold ahead. We'll have a look at the top side play because it's some really nice stuff from AL and a little bit of panic from IG.
It is, you know, it's a powerful Tarzan Poppy who's got the power spike in, and we just highlighted before, yeah, flashed into the Bard who was unfortunately on vision. I mean, let's be honest, you know the Bard ult's coming from somewhere. It's got to be close by. Flashing over that wall, not the wisest decision. I would have held on to that summoner if I were Rookie.
Into burning the extra summoner. Kyle gets a lot of value, then turns up mid just after with a good magical journey timing. Finding exactly what they're looking for. While, of course, this Ezreal going to get quite scary. There's our Hope build path on the Corki. Q into E by the looks of it, so not super crazy there.
Nope, it's basically the same as normal, folks. There were some points where you'd put 3 points in Q, max out E, or 3 points in E early, and blah, blah, blah. They changed some things. There was an initial point after Corki's reworked from AP to AD again, where they would go for stuff like Hubris, Collector, double lethality, max E, and you would one-shot people with... because your ult would actually end up doing damage, since that's now physical damage instead. But now the difference now is actually what you go third item onwards. You can go Shojin, you can go more Dominus Regards, you can go towards Fire Cannon or something like that too. Really depends on flavor of the month and how bulky you want to be. Atacon started up. The Ezreal will spot them, though, and it's a good tag onto both. That's good damage onto both.
Got to get through this front line, though. The bounce house is there for AL, and I don't know whether they've got the ID cards to get through the front door. Flandre's going to back away. Tempered Fate is so good. Kyle is popping off on this champion right now. Atacon secured. AL now on the retreat. Magical Journey gets 3 away. Flandre ults to prevent Rookie finding a good angle. Flashes out after, and Flandre's Scion play remains unrivaled.
You can't kill the Scion that easily. Everyone else, I think you got the damage for, but the Scion, yeah, you can't really do much with that. Kyle potentially could.
Scouting with the Shrine, gonna get popped by the Pop Blossom. In comes the hero's entrance, though, and Kyle Magical Journey's at the same time. Mako's now down low. Flash with the heroic charge. Buckler's nearly enough, but Mako will survive. Tarzan, though, still. What's this? It's a 4-man. I don't know about that one, Poppy.
Goes in too deep. The jungle support, who have really ran this game, taking it turns, throwing themselves into the enemy team comp. Gala able now to push in a little bit towards this mid lane as Anyone's Legend. Get the Atacon still. That's still a big win. 39 battles to just the 8 of IG. the XP, the adaptive force advantage they now have from that objective will be very, very important for AL to keep this window of time where they're still doing decent damage on people like the Poppy and the Scion alive a little longer.
And you just saw like that little statistical chance to win line coming up there. It's still favoring IG just faintly because of what we've been talking about. Look, the window of power for AL is somewhat dwindling here. Still get the Atakan, still get largely away with it. Again, giving up that kill, a little bit frustrating. It isn't the end of the world. 2 items done for the Shy, though, means he's starting to have much better trades against this Scion than he was 2-3 minutes ago.
Well, 3 kills onto the rookie. Well, not too far off 3 items, I suppose. They'll be coming after 2, as it tends to be, numerically. With the tank killer build as well, the Malignance into Leandries, level 11 for some extra MP. Perhaps that's enough to chew through some of the front line in a good way. But AL, I'm wondering if they've given a little bit too much to, sorry, IG, I'm wondering if they've given a little too much to AL at this point. You know, do you have the Riftmaker coming through from Shanks? He's at a happy 2 items despite being down 1,000 gold. Feats of Strength are on anyone's Legend. I think eventually IG will have ample damage to blow up the backline, and you don't have to worry about killing the Scion quickly. But for now, feels like they've not been able to play the map well enough to get themselves access to those targets.
2 items largely in. That means things like the Ezreal online. This is about Corki's max point of power in a lot of ways as well. After this, it feels like at least win rate over time wise, he begins to dwindle a little from various numbers out there and available. Mid-tier 1 is going to go down towards IG here. No real way to defend this. Kyle eats a bit of a chunk. 35 seconds until a soul point fight for IG, and there's another win condition for him.
Would be the Ocean Soul, which is, I suppose against the lower damage team comp, that is really nasty, because let's be honest, you're not dying super quickly to a Scion and to a Poppy. You will die, I mean, it's still not bad damage, but the Ocean Soul is very impactful versus them, as opposed to, and yeah, they're going right down into bot side river, and Flandre is pretty unkillable. He can throw his weight around pretty well at this point.
Is the highest level in the game, tied with Shanks. Of course, a little bit of assistance from all of those petals from Atakan, by the way, but there you go, up about 30 of them or so.
Almost everyone's up a level on their opponents. Solo lanes are anyway. Dragon started. AL, can they put the front line in the right place to stop someone like Hope or Tarzan potentially getting caught out easily?
Didn't deny the soul point again. You've still got Tempered Fate, Scion, and Galio. Lots of ways to deny entrance for Wei, but he's not on vision right now. Gets into the back of the pit, still unspotted, gets a ward down. Gonna have Shanks go and scout it out now. They know that Wei is there. He gets back over the pit wall with the Vault Breaker. This should just be Dragon. Wei's in, but not in time. All the while, Rookie taking low as Flandre just steps on forward. Mako also being chunked out. It's all gotten a bit awkward as the Keeper's Burning knocks the Ezreal away. Tempered Fate onto the Shy. Keeps him taunted as the Shield of Duran comes on down. And Ambessa is obliterated way into the backline on top of Hope, but will not get the kill because the hero's entrance will come on through and ensure that Wei's attempted assassination goes wrong as Flandre starts screaming at Nico really, really loudly. And Mako needs to run. That's the clone. And Mako goes into the enemy jungle and will try to run away, but I don't know to what avail.
Yeah, I think that one, sadly this lizard can't cut their tail and run. Anyone's Legend take themselves that fight, and with the enemy jungler dead, I think they could even start Baron. Rookie now caught out, flashed away from the taunts.
Yes, indeed, all the while. Mako does execute the turret, but Sound's got his ult back up again, gets on top of Rookie, who again has been slowed down, no longer has the flash, doesn't have anywhere near a stun, and Hope gets another.
Anyone's Legend so much better at playing around objectives, and Gala ejected from that fight meant they were slowed down so much extra damage. Gala has flash, he does have 2 items, he's strong, but he just can't get the amount of uptime. Hang on a second, he can actually go for an E-flash here.
Maybe. Hope is so low, they just can't get in range, and Gala's back the other way. They can't do Baron at least.
I actually think he could get in range. E-flash is very long range, and he would have killed with the Muramana proc that. I think he's unlucky not to get away with that one. Gala not seeing the angle. IG struggling around objectives. Flandre is so annoying. He just sits in this pressure, charges up Q. It's one of the strongest things the Scion can do around objectives. The Poppy ult lands and gets rid of the Ezreal ultimate, the Ezreal damage rather, right about here. Garlic gets hit by that, and then suddenly a lot of your damage is gone. As the Ezreal's flying out, your Ambassador's going in. Miscoordination by IG. Perhaps the Shy thought, well, I'm in too deep now, I've got to get something out of this, but he goes in, doesn't get that much combo down with. Wei goes in after the Ambassador's already dead. Miscommunication in spades here from IG. And AL really well played around their front line to make sure IG can't easily group up.
Great work there, and then afterwards, of course, you saw the potential angle for Gala. He just backs away to mid lane.
AL managed to stop that Sol point, of course, during that too, which is important. Will we see AL push the game forwards enough to genuinely close it out, though, in good time? Because I do think there's a bit of a timer on their composition, and we would be remiss to not highlight back to them, not to give too much to IG. They are significantly far behind, but if AL don't confidently close the game, you wonder what happens with a 3-item Ezreal with Shojin. You wonder what happens particularly with a 3-item Ambassador as well, who's likely to go towards something either like a Black Cleaver to cut through the tank, or something like a Sterix later on as well. With the Phage, it'll likely be that Black Cleaver again, looking again. IG, can they survive long enough for their composition, finally get enough damage to ignore that front line and dive into the back line?
TPing into the Baron pit. Maybe that's the way forward. Here we go.
Well, got plenty of time to deal with this. Kyle, well, it is a spell with teleport, so, you know, less intense than perhaps others using that same summoner. Pushing out that mid lane. IG not really able to get access to the other side of the map. AL slowly go towards that Baron, tanking it up well with the Poppy.
You can do it, and again, you have got a Corki with the Gatling gun. It's not bad, actually, the objective shredding.
No, he's not bad at all. Holding down these choke points. Again, good Sion double Q.
Into the Tempered Fate. Beautiful Pop Blossom turnaround on 4 is solid, but where's the follow-up? Annie on top of Tarzan, who is going to flash and run away, but they've killed off 5. Health bar's low. Gala looking to get back towards the front line. He's got to flash away, all the while Hope is low. The Shy in the back line needs to get out. Shoved into the wall. They can't kill the Corki.
They're too far behind. The damage is not sticking. Gala stacking up the Conqueror. Can try and get a little bit more. Misses the ultimate there. And the Poppy ult will see him out.
Oh, Tarzan again just making sure this Ezreal can't do a damn thing. Mako is running. But to where the Celestial opposition times out. And unfortunately, Flandre has a giant hammer and smacks the Nico around the head with it.
That'll buy the Baron. Anyone's Legend get a 3 for none as they eject the remaining damage. And IG, once again, cannot combo up these different pieces of damage to finish off one damn kill. The Shy and Rookie very nearly kill Tarzan. Can't quite do so. Gala, left on his own trying to deal with the tanks. He can't quite kill them as well. They had a little bit more damage in pocket. Perhaps they could see it through. But Anyone's Legend, wonderful play through their front line to make sure that IG don't get all their damage onto one target at the same time.
And Anyone's Legend have looked out of sort, is the kind way of putting it, for the last few weeks. They're 4-4 for a reason. They beat BLG in a very tight run series. It was messy, it wasn't clean, it relied on hand stiff and vibes and sheer bloody will. But this is the best series we've seen from them in a long time, and this is a very clean execution on a comp that should have been hard to play. And Mako finds a wonderful Pop Blossom that means nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that the Shy wants to cancel out the Poppy ult. I actually just wonder whether he should have just put it into the clump and tried to get onto a carry. Different targets being called out. And yes, you can see that the Ambassador is really, really strong at diving into the backline, but just left on their own. Rookie gets the second stun through, but it's onto a target that doesn't care as much about it. Yes, eventually I think he'll kill the Sion in good order. Gala sadly can't get his own ultimate in there too, and because Tarzan's ult was cancelled out at the start of it, goes on the reduced cooldown, it's up by the end of it to punt out the remaining damage.
And you've got Rookie there, as you noted, on the other side of Flandre, but how the hell does the Flash as Annie get beyond Sion, Poppy, Bard?
With great difficulty, or a great teleport.
But yes, genuinely the angle.
But I think AL have controlled vision so well that teleport flank has just not been available to them. You can see how little damage Ezreal is doing to the front line now too. Anyone's Legend, so much gold with, you know, multiple armor items being built up on Tarzan. Wei has been ineffective on the Vi as well, despite it being a champion. He won MSI back in 2022. 2021 as well, actually. Double jungle winner for himself. Wait, was he there in 2022? Was that okay, he was definitely there for in 2021. I can't remember if he was there for both of them, but he was there in 2022, of course. Right now, 3 items here from Rookie. Has the Void Staff, but even then you can see how little damage that's doing to the Sion.
Namely none, it feels like. And again, look, you have got a 3-item Ezreal. Gala could do this, but he's going to need a last Whisper at least. On the other side, Hope has gone to Collector. He's into such a squishy comp. He's gone, I don't care if it's completely inefficient in some ways. My burst will sting onto people like this. Slightly mistimed from Flandre, but Rookie's going to flash away. Hero's entrance also, but the problem is Tarzan is murdering people on the other side. This Poppy has been a menace. Gala does do damage to Kyle if he can land a good combo there. That's 3/4 of the health bar on the bar down. Mystic shots flying. Baron minions sieging onto this tier 3. Trying to jump onto Tarzan. May well go down. Sundered Sky healing is ridiculous. Public execution comes on through. Backline goes Shanks and murders the Ezreal.
Hope going even further forwards. Another kill to the Corki. 9-1-2. Hope has had a great day at the office. Anyone's legend ever had a great day at the office is IG, who we assume to be favorites coming in to this matchup not even a few days ago, getting blasted 2-0 by Anyone's legend.
It's a convincing series from Anyone's legend. Their most convincing series, all split long. Back to back, they beat BLG, and now Invictus Gaming, our spring split champions, finally waking up.
Anyone's legend, a solid showing here today. 3 games against BLG.
Engage here at the level 1. The Giles peter out as Tien was in danger. He's going to have to stop the frozen domain there.
He is. Good angle from On there. With the mount up, he made sure he was behind the Trundle to flip him closer to the team, but not enough follow-up damage. Potentially look for a flash crash down, flash for flash onto the Talia, perhaps. You know the Trundle's not there. Don't want to go into that fight too much, though. Still on a 4-man unit. Weber needs to be careful. If Gon goes for a flash crash down, things can get a bit spicy. Of course, Alistair can cancel it out. There's still questions here.
Get off the queue. Chunks Knight a little. Gonna get an auto down, but he's just in range for a crash down. I don't know about this one, Light. There's the heal from Crisp. Everyone's coming. I think we're going for round 2. Knockup comes all down to On. Frozen Domain also there, but there's the heal and trade. Fight beginning to commence over this blue buff. We've got 4 members from both squads here and ready to tango. Xiaohu and Knight trading out a little bit. The blue buff will reset, and everyone decides that's enough for now.
Heal was used from both supports. Bin getting a great level 1 trade versus Breathe. Of course, these were the 2 that were switcherooing on RNG in 2022. Bin won the MSI title. Breathe then switched back onto RNG because of RNG contract shenanigans. And things fell off a little bit for them. That was sort of the end of the RNG era, but these 2 were the last 2 great top laners to play for that magnificent period of time for that one org. Apparently going into insolvency or looking for a seller, by the way. Crash down, just cancel it onto Light. It does get the knockup onto Crisp.
Yeah, and they are being zoned off the wave. It does often end up being the case as the Alistair, and there is Elk getting to use that Spirit of Cultivation, getting a massive chunk there as the Arc of Judgment is also leveled up partway through the trade and ends up getting good damage onto the Kaiser. So you have to back with 2 farm, and that's it.
The gambit put in by Weibo was, we will take the Alistair away from you so you have a less good support champion to play into the Trundle. However, that's likely going to lose Weibo the laning phase. I think it has. At level 1, obviously not helping that much either. By the way, Crisp, I think Weibo, the social media account, was tweeting out that Crisp got some new tattoos on his forearms, by the way. It looked very cool.
What are they of?
Sam, I can't remember. I think they were... I can't remember if they're anything symbolic. They looked like there was some pattern kind of things.
Love mum.
Hey. Go call your mothers, folks. Ooh, good shotgun there onto Xiaohu. Teleported in. Knight gets a good trade there. Knight versus Xiaohu, of course, legendary matchup here as well. Particularly towards the last few... go back a year or 2, 2020, 21, 22. We had, you know, Knight versus Xiaohu being a title-winning matchup. They're a little bit disaligned in their eras, of course. Knight coming in much later than Xiaohu, and RNG, of course, being Kings of Spring, but not necessarily putting that through into Summer, which Knight has often ended up doing now on the likes of BLG and JDG. Breathe.
Just in the 1v2 now as Elk and On have managed to reset, go back for the long. So I wonder whether it might have been a cull, but no, they're taking this opportunity to get up here and value. It's actually giving Light and Crisp a bit of free time on this bot side, but I guess it would just be in terms of wave crash timings.
Exactly. What this is effectively a decision, I think, between top laners, actually, where Ben's like, look, I can collect more farm out of this wave because the wave was slow crashing in. It was definitely crashing in on bot side. Get the XP at least. And while he's been doing well in the early levels, you don't have to stick in that one. If you want to look here, Breathe, his wave control's all over the place. Not the best thing, gets the slow onto him as well. This is why you're doing it. It's actually a top lane decision, not for bot lane.
Exactly it. The mid lane, decent weirding chunk as both mid laners end up trading out. Shadow may need to be a bit wary as Tien was just debating whether there was an invade angle onto these.
Ooh. Very, very close. Knight actually ran out of mana there. I'm not sure if Xiaohu needed to flash, but he did anyway. Knock up onto Ben.
Skip and slash, trying to get a decent double snip down, and does so. The Hallowed Mist just about times that. We'll be able to skip away from that Void Seeker. And Light finds nothing but, ironically, the Void.
Champion is playing the new champion, Nymaera. New champion who's very much about fast attack speed, attacking with those prayer beads which float around them. Kind of like Ashe in the early levels, where you have to stack it up and then it'll activate. Later on, when you press your ultimate, it automatically activates as well. Very good 1 to 2 item damage. Particularly good AoE damage on certain builds, but can struggle in the hyper late game because you don't build much lifesteal. You don't have much self-peel besides a dash when you're ulting. It only happens when you ult, by the way. You press your E and you do that. And we've seen some great results out of this champion when you get a little bit of peel for you. And when you can end the game really at 2 to 3 items rather than anything beyond that. But we have seen the champion struggle at some points. I mean, just yesterday, Elk could not carry the late game on this champion versus anyone's legend, despite being very, very powerful at points in that game on Nymaera.
Again, it does feel like Nymaera is a strong champion, but has got enough weaknesses to her, particularly dependent on build in some ways as well as to how she gets to play the game. So what value she really gets. There's Rel crashing down to get the shield. In fact, that's getting nerfed next patch, in part because, of course, be some difficulties with that on burning the heal as 6 minutes rolls around. Gets teleported straight away. We are seeing this more and more often. Supports on that 6-minute timer, immediately burning a summoner to get TP.
Help in some ways. BLG getting a decent time of things through the mid jungle too on the whole. Knight's getting that flash out of Shadow, who's definitely something that Shadow would like to punish a little later. The Aurora a bit happy to play without it with more mobility in the kits. Haven't seen any... Well, I mean, I was about to say I haven't seen any like big plays so far. I suppose the lane spots have been that, if anything, right? It's not big plays, but it's close enough. Not bad here. But then again, the Kaiser passes has to really hurt.
So then Elk gets to unleash on that Spirit of Cultivation. So at least trades back a little bit there, but it will be Chris forced to reset. Tien's around, though, and there's Xiaohu coming up with the Weaver's Wall. I think we might be in for a tower dive.
If you do, then Aurora cleans up. That's my worry. They have a brief 4v2, but the tower's there as an extra half. Could split out of the combo.
Headbutt into the Pulverize, and that's just dead. Elk overcomes Knight, looking to find some damage. Remember, Xiaohu without the flash could be in danger. Tien, no subjugate. They don't have enough damage, though. It ends up just being a clean kill onto Elk.
On should not have, Elk rather, shouldn't have stood next to the wall. You're against the Alistar. You shouldn't be doing that. I understand you're a little bit afraid walking up to them, but allowing the Alistar to space out the combo means that Elk can't really flash out of this the Talia follow-up. Knight didn't want to commit the ultimate. Lighthand was the one tanking the turrets, and he couldn't really reach him on the other side of the tower. I think it's a bit of a mistake there from Elk.
At the very least, Shadow does get the dragon on the other side of the map, so there is a trade for BLG. They aren't without their own silver lining there. Now be in a spot of danger. Chris has turned up and shoved very deep.
Look how far up he is, though.
Yeah.
He's very, very strong. Breathe doesn't have the best items. I mean, not that Vince used that much either. Ult on top side.
On around as well. Seismic shove back. Step from crash down before Xiao to go the other direction. But again, this is a Talia with no flash. Ult in 2 seconds, but it's caught in combat. I don't think there's going to be any real room here to use that Weaver's Wall to escape.
Yeah, Xiao, he'll go down. Knight just goes through them and technically gets a solo kill. What that technically means is he gets the extra XP and a tiny bit of extra gold as well. So Knight getting more out of that. 2 stacks on the Dark Seal. Xiao overstays in the top side.
On's like, bro, I just turned up to make sure you got this kill. I get nothing for this. Dude, why am I here?
That being said, like, get you a support like on there, realizing this guy is going to die. You can give the solo kill over. Yeah, the Aurora being fed is very good for our chances to win. Solo lane's in great spots now. Xiao even in gold with Knight, but Knight getting that solo kill definitely puts him back on track. Anyone gonna fight for these grubs? No. BLG have been happy to give up grubs recently, actually. They've been happy to give that up cross map instead.
And in fairness, they did just burn the Aurora ult. I think it would be a bit difficult, especially with Gwen, who is the one you wanted to give a bit of lead here. Best. Hyper Gaming claim all 3. Turn up and see whether anyone stuck around too long, but they won't. All the while, Elk happy enough, farming in the mid lane. It's about 10 CS.
Anyone's will be still in the venue, of course. They were just playing before.
Okay, very good, very good. Yeah.
You know, so if anyone turned up, yes, they did. You just missed them. Leave them a memo or something.
Anyone's League of Legends.
Yeah. Anyone's legal team. That'd be funny. Anyone's legal team. For those haters.
Shanks has him on speed dial.
Ouch. Shadow going to a stop set. Knight just stunned himself there. Knight using the ult. Xiao using that ult to get away, though. Not the end of things.
On now. Going to get pulverized there. Elk turns up with the heal, throws out the Arc of Judgment, doesn't really land onto anyone. Was expecting Chris potentially to backstep into it. Doesn't really lead to all that much. We saw a heal burn, but again, Spellbook, happy to burn summoners pretty freely here as your supports.
What else is happening on the map? I'm getting quite worried for this top lane matchups. Of course, Australia lanes right now. The old RNG top lane has been saved that. He had to ignite onto it. No, ignite electrocute onto him.
Just trade with his ultimate there, but that's now burned and breathe. Could theoretically look to turn this around, but I think Bin, the use of that ult, mostly putting it in towards the wave, wants to reset, I think, on this timer, and does indeed throughout that recall. I wonder whether this will be first item, or at least something like completion of the steel caps.
Yeah, he doesn't have the teleport just yet. He might save that for a little while on. Yeah, the steel caps really do change the matchup, particularly when Trundle goes into your lane as well. It's annoying. Worth noting that Trundle can't deny, even with the ultimate, with the denying resists and whatever, can't deny the steel caps passive, where you get that reduction on auto attacks.
I like big bonks, and I cannot lie. Steel cups do deny.
They do deny.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
See.
Right. Gotcha. Just checking what the wording was in that.
Yeah.
You know, it's important to me that you, you know, you get the most meaning out of these words.
I did try that. I thought that was...
Thanks. I'm glad you tried that, Sam.
Did my best on that one. Because Alk and On doing their best to get shoved into this mid lane. And again, been a relatively quiet game after the fracas at level 1. And the gold remains pretty much even as well. There's like 200 gold to BLG. It's kind of it.
Xiaohu is off vision here. Trundle and Alistar are both making their way down. There could be a big play onto Bin. And if they can get that, opens up potentially this turret. Weaver's wall not available to cut off any extra terrain. The Shrouded, the blah blah blah, the Joint Gwen W, Hallowed Mist, that one is down currently for now.
That's 3 people around. On is coming down the lane. I don't know whether he'd get here quite in time. Hallowed Mist is quite a long cooldown early on. I don't think Bin's got it. Has got the ult as well. May need to burn one or the other. Headbutt, Pulverize, Seismic Shove. And Bin is just bounced around. Slow down, finding flashes. Does survive. On gets a flash on forwards himself. And a couple summoners blown. But Bin does hold his nerve and survive that.
Yeah, a bit of an over commitment from the flash from On. Thought he could stun someone on the turret. Doesn't get a flash in response. Bin lives, has teleport now as well. We'll pick up the Restless Wave on top side. He's actually a pretty happy Gwen from that. Chris will be spotted out here, flash forwards. There is an ult from Knight.
Knight may need to burn it. Will go across the veil first. Gonna get trampled. Seismically shoved. Does go between worlds. Does get back towards the turret on top of that. And the Weird will keep him alive, but he is now very low HP. And Weibo Gaming with 3 grubs and a Trundle. I think they can just shove on this turret.
Yeah, credit to Weibo that they get good value from continuing to stick down here. And yes, they do have a Trundle on turret now. On can't exactly wave clear. He might even die under here, actually.
Gonna try and buy some time. Magnet Storm is good. The weirding is there. And they'll turn it around at the very least. Knight gets 1, but the 1-for-1 plus turret is still Weibo favored.
The turret is, however, I mean, Knight sticking around to get that extra play. I don't think that Weibo thought they were going to lose anyone next. It's just a rel under turret. Knight does stick around. Like, there was an angle for him, I suppose, to potentially flash on to Knight with his own flash. Quite hard to do so. Gold to a couple of shared members of Weibo. There was a plate taken in mid lane, though. I guess some waves were lost because BLG were farming out 3 waves
big time top
at
side,
the same time. Although that being said, the CS leads don't look too bad to the way they were before. BLG, yes, have some leads in mid and top lane and in AD carry, all of them small ones, but they were more like 10, and now they're more like 5 in some places.
That's a good shove there. Shadow does get the clone off at the least to prevent too much follow-up. But yeah, I think particularly for Breathe, who was down what felt like 20 CS at some points there. Pressure around those teleports and the plays around the turrets have actually earned Weibo a bit of breathing room, all puns intended, towards that top lane match.
Remember, he was shoved off that bot wave. Dragon's still going to be started. Elk can keep his Q up on that. Knight doesn't have ult right now, important to note.
Eyes on Dragon HP, down to 2,000, double seismic shove. Elk will put down the barrier, survives, will begin to turn around with the untouchable Shadow, beginning to get some damage back. The double pulverized on is dead. Elk may need to try and get over the wall and will do so with the E. Shadow in danger, will Nimbus strike, but it's across the unraveled earth. Then Weibo Gaming pick up an extra kill. Knight now on the wrong side of the map.
He doesn't really have that much way out of this. Has ult in a few seconds, and the bunny's pretty hard to deal with. Whoa, that was some nice smoke and mirrors.
The pillar is there. Weirding doesn't quite get them over the other side of the pillar. The seismic shove have to be flashed away from, but there's still a chilling smite, and Knight will surely fall to the threaded volley.
It was close though, 2 seconds on his ult. Very nearly played the smoke and mirrors. Goes down after BLG do not have the fighting potential to see off Weibo around the dragon. They can't call in someone like the Gwen, who's doing quite well right now. Doesn't have the items for it really either. And of course they were fighting without the Aurora ultimate, which is a huge amount of damage. Mistake there from Shadow to dive into the play around the dragon. You should just call it quits, get the dragon and get out.
Here's a look at the replay, and it does start with Shadow at least getting the dragon, but the shove at the onto 2 people is rough.
The shove's great. You probably should just back out here from Shadow. There's a good pull on, should also similarly just get out. As soon as the double shove hits, while no one's died, you should realize we don't really have the HP to fight back, especially since you also don't have the Aurora ultimate. Bad mistake from Shadow to go in there.
Now, actually, Weibo Gaming really accelerating here. They're about
That's
2.5 to 3,000 gold. On is going to die again. Don't know how he got picked off there, but he's now 0-3-1.
It's another Crisp headbutt pull. Crisp having a good game so far. Reminder that Crisp was removed from top esports in this split. Switched over with Hung. Support trade between them. Even though Crisp won a title in the first split. Obviously some trouble in Paradise. Knights getting spelled out by Crisp. Another headbutt pull.
No, wonderful stuff. Does get between worlds, the seismic shove, and times out the alt walls. Weibo Gaming finding everything.
Crisp is on a tear right now. Knight caught out. Denied access to his top turret.
I want to recall a conversation we were having at draft. Oh, they'll lock the Alistair. It's going to suck for lane, but it's to deny. And then, honestly, Crisp now in the mid game is proving the value of just locking that Alistair agnostic of the lane.
He's been doing really well on it. Weibo have a huge lead now. And BLG, a team, reminder folks, that we're undefeated. Solo kill potential. No burn. There's no burn. There's no Leandries.
Shadow gets away with it. I just wondered until I saw the items and yeah, Seraphs does make sense, but
yeah, no two items.
Survive.
No two items just yet. Even then, the champion doesn't always even go towards the Leandries nowadays. Ryla is quite common now. He is going towards it there with the Haunting Guns, but even then, that's not burn. That's increased damage over time.
Didn't get to snip onto Breathe, but Breathe at this point is caring a lot less about the lane state, the Eclipse, the Merc Treads upgraded by the Feats of Strength as well is a much happier Ambessa here.
You just have to wonder, don't you? BLG down a lot of gold, just lost the first series.
Oh no.
Has the
no.
We were questioning throughout the split, well, is it actually a honeymoon phase, or is just Shadow doing very, very well, and is he just the right call and things are fixed? It's a hard question sometimes. Good bonk to get the Alistair away. BLG losing that first series in the fashion that they did, and now in this game being manhandled in the early game, actually. I mean, Knight, who was doing very well, now down 1,000 gold. Same in jungle as well. Same in AD carry. 3 rolls, down 1,000 gold. BLG, was it a honeymoon after all?
And I think the bit that's going to be very aggressively reviewed is that sequence where they get dive bot side, give up the turret, lose the other side of the map as well. Like, that was just a lot of gold that just went straight over to Weibo Gaming.
Yeah, they've done very well at getting farm up in the top lane matchup before that point. Now it just feels like panicked macro. They have good teamfighting instincts. They have, well, on the whole, they didn't have that yesterday. Shadow, stick around in this brush for a long time. Leeching XP as well, which is not really what you want. You want to give Ben as many resources as possible. Getting yourself towards those boots. Treats of strength, of course, onto Weibo, so they'll have the stronger boots. And another thing to bring out as well is the fact that, yes, the Cole's popped into Elk, and Elk's just hit level 11. He's not weak, of course, but I don't think his Yunara has been that strong compared to Jackie-Love or to Gala or what have you. We need to see more from him. He's going for the Kraken Slayer build again, a build which I think is less good than the Blade of the Ruin King, especially against the likes of the Trundle and stuff like that. I wonder whether Elk will have the impact that BLG need him to have.
It's the AoE build, and again, you aren't into like a true tank, so I sort of get the thought process, but he needs to make it work.
Funny you mentioned that. Kraken Slayer is not anti-tank anymore, as described by Riot. It's not about that anymore.
No, exactly. I was going to say the Blade of the Ruin King build would be the anti-tank build. That's what I'm saying. It's not into true tanks, so it can go the Kraken Slayer build was my thought.
Yeah, yes and no, because I mean, HP build is still there. I think that Blade is just a very, very good item on Yunara, tank or no tank. Chris, exhaust the clone, but remember he does have spellbook, so I don't think he minds using it. Yeah, he gets the heal back. I think that's really what he wanted there.
Trying to get an extra bit of value. Didn't quite find it. Herald will be dropped mid, and I think this turret is just gone.
Yep, it'll die to the charge. No, it won't quite die to the charge, actually. So I'll need another auto attack or two. It'll just stay alive.
Stick around to get that auto or two required. Seismic shove isn't going to land. All the while, though, I will note that TN on your mini-map will be starting up the dragon.
And on the other side, Knight's hitting the top side turret. Remember, Weibo got all the grubs. This is not as powerful a cross-map as it could have been. Shadow's going to go through the enemy jungle, potentially sweep out some wards. He doesn't have a control wall to put down. Could have stolen Krugs, but they're not. He didn't see that right now. Teleport towards top side. Alistair there too. No out of turret too. Knight could actually get really threatened here.
As the public execution, just well played. Knight is now, I think, probably just dead. This has not been a great mid game from the mid laner.
Blast Cone will help. Can you get away from Talia for now? Here comes the ult. There is a flash on this Aurora.
Xiao ends up on the wrong side of the wall there. I think Knight's still likely dead, trying to TP
Teleport.
Shove. Not available.
Oh! So close. Knight makes some magic happen. Gets the ult out of Xiaohu. The ult out of Breathe after the teleport too. Uses his own, but gets it up with the escape without even using his flash. That's a high roll there.
You take what you can get, and you get quite a lot, honestly, out of that. Well played from the bunny in mid.
I do like that Weibo putting him under pressure, though. What happened here on the other side of the jungle? He ended up having his flash blown. I don't think he died. Wait, did he die? Did he just die? No, he ended up flashing. Flashing the locket, saw him to safety, but Weibo very far ahead. 4,500 gold. They have the 3 grubs to cross map if they want to as well. They have that first dragon to delay a potential soul from BLG. Despite we talked a lot about the BLG story arc through the split. Wow, okay, new jungler. Shadow looks like things have really changed for them, but they've now lost this. Where's the honeymoon? On the other side, Weibo 4-4, a team that we thought were kind of losing their spark. Weibo are a team which somehow always catch up though. Always. Consistently inconsistent. Never a truer phrase has been spouted about LPL. Atacam will go down and Weibo cleanly take it.
Do it with very little in the way of contest from BLG. Another mark towards them. I think at this point, 4,500 gold, the Atakan, the scaling is good. You are feeling pretty damn happy as Weibo Gaming right now.
And on the other side, Bin will cross map. Can he finish the full turret? No, with the Ambassador ult landing, maybe not.
Oh, he's going to try and take the turret. And Breathe will buy some time. Needlework comes on down, but that's the Hallow Mist now timed out. Kaiser's coming, has got the ult. Breathe is buying time, and Bin is walking towards the Kaiser.
Has flash, needs to damage out in the clouds, but can't quite do so.
And the moment he skips over the wall, he's in danger, but Shadow's now there. Can maybe look to punish. Light, though, has flash, has barrier. Shadow trying to turn this one around. The Magnet Storm is not enough to keep them alive. Shadow could still be traded here, though. On's also around, and maybe Weibo have overstepped. Flash away from Breathe. They tried to buy time for the Kaiser to turn up, but it all goes wrong.
The difference maker there, the honey fruit. The honey fruit that got picked up by Bin. Breathe tried to deny them as they walked over it, but the heal, the slight shield, the slight movement speed from the Kente variety too. The specific brand of honey fruit, the Monster Energy honey fruit on this rift. See Bin to safety, but watch again during the replay. Light walking up, but you can see right here, Bin gets a slight move speed, a slight shield in from there too. And Light can't quite finish it up. That might have actually been the difference there. Shadow gets a full channel cyclone, a double bonk there too. The clone reached over the wall, and On comes in to the rescue as well.
Nicely played there, and BLG needing something to right the ship will take what they can get. They get the flash off Breathe as well. Bad going, and this Kaiser down double summoners could be a big deal, say, in a minute and a half when Chem Dragon would be spawning.
Before we were saying about 1,000 gold lead onto all 3 middle roles of the map: jungle, mid, AD carry. Jungle AD carry have halved now to about 500, as Knight's still a little bit behind in terms of individual gold. Shao, who got a ton of kills early on, courtesy of BLG playing into the Global's hands, and right there again, great shot back. He's having a great game on the Talia.
It's just gone, just dead to rights. Once upon a time, Xiaohu was known as one of the very best Talias in the world. I think in general, Xiaohu's level of form has dwindled away a little bit over this year. At last as well, if we remember, he had to turn it back on in playoffs, but right now, a little bit of that Xiaohu of old turning up.
We've mentioned it for a few players. Hang on, Shadow, he should be... I say he should be safe. I mean, he's off of vision. He's not off vision.
Okay.
We'll be fine there. Yeah, Xiaohu at the back end of last year, at the start of summer, was so poor, we thought his career was over. Yeah. Tarzan came into Weibo then at the end of at the midway through summer split last year, turned that team around, and Xiaohu also recovered very, very well. We thought that, the Emperor of Spring, his time had ended though, and he's actually gone on to have some decent performances. Would I say he's the best mid in the league? No, absolutely not. But he has been up there contending, making finals, making it to Worlds again. He's made it to Worlds, 2 years on the trot between Weibo both years. He made it to a World Finals for the first time in 2023. Like, this guy has had some absolute legs on his career. Catch on to Chris now. Has ult, though.
Finds a nice flash from Crit. Does get a double headbutt pole, and that's on to Knight, who's trying to buy some time with the between worlds. The decent damage back onto TN, who is not all that tanky, remember. Backline, Knight just about surviving. Breather's there. He's on to Elf, but he's in a 1 versus 5.
Breathe tried to ping the ult onto Knight, but Knight flashes early. Outplay between the solo laners as Breathe, his own comfort pick of the Ambassador, has not been as clean as he would have liked so far. Unable to catch out this bunny both times he's gone a hunting for them. Soul point will be earned by BLG and Weibo. While they do have 3 grubs, are a little slow to the cross map, so we'll see realistically how much they can get out of this top lane shove.
Yeah, Knight's already there. On's behind. I think it's just going to be a pickup by this Aurora, who's at 2 items. She's clear that in very short order.
Yeah, so Weibo, if they'd chosen to leave it a little earlier, perhaps could have got more. Can they go into mid lane at the same time? No wave clearing res, so they will get this one. All right, so it's going to be tower for tower, inner turret for outer one. I think in this case, mid lane inner is a bit of a luxury tower. It doesn't change that much in terms of the way you control the map. Bot lane outer turret does remove that full ring though. Crisp, we've been praising him, caught out pretty easily here. Good flash pull in to catch out Knight. Knight doesn't get to use himself a crazy burst combo onto the backline, instead has to do it to escape. You can see right here, Breathe comes in. Well played of Knight to potentially stop the flash play coming through, and Breathe misses the ult.
Yeah, and then he ends up all isolated and Breathe goes down. It's a nice pickup there from BLG to get what they can. It actually helps narrow that gold lead to a much more manageable rate. Soul this game.
Yeah.
Actually quite valuable when you're dealing with relatively limited CC. The tenacity and playing around low HP bars in a low tank game with lots of damage. I can see the value of the Chem Soul this game.
Yeah, the actual soul itself, pretty nice when you've got a lot of people, as we've already seen. It is a low tank game. Ult hitting onto Knight, but Breathe, just again, trading ult for ult there. Not getting the hugest burst damage through. Does force Knight back away from the wave, though, perhaps afraid of extra members roaming towards his position.
Right now, down that ult, forced to reset. There might be a world where they can start threatening around the Baron. BLG got a couple really good wards, though, to spot out a lot of entrances into the river, so they have an idea about who is around and where. And BLG then turning up in force to get their own vision down.
Knight's still going to be able to stick around bot lane, though. He does have the level 11, so it's also a lower cooldown. Not that much cooldown reduction with the Leandries, but you get a little bit from the boots, from the Phoenix Codex. It's not like you are without cooldown reduction. Breathe control of the spot side, though, meaning that BLG can't push things in on a side lane and force Weibo into a difficult macro choice.
You can go to a very famous British pharmacy, just find loads of cooldown reduction.
What?
Boots.
Oh, yeah, there is a, yeah. Wait, is Boots also?
We also found it, yeah, it's a British company, but it's also like, it turns up in Thailand, which is wild.
Oh, yeah. Huh, cool. Cultural export. Boots of all things, wow. Pillar and top side, not getting that much done. Worth noting, yeah, Tien doing pretty well for himself too. That Triforce, kinda nice. Crisp does have the blast going to be safe around. 2 items on the Gwen. Of course, at that point, you become a genuine DPS threat.
3 items on Kai'Sa, by the way. Not that I think Elk is miles off either. Infinity Edge will be the next item, one would imagine. 2 buffing fought over. I think this goes the way of Weibo. Yeah, Shadow can't get the smite. Nice combo there from Team.
And it's a team blue buff as well. Reminder, past the Baron spawn, it will affect the entire team. Everyone grouping up around this mid lane. No one cross-mapping now. Knight pushed in a wave in bot side. Weibo not sending anyone to respond. BLG not really... Hang on a sec. Crisp gets the combo.
To back away, Shove comes on forwards, but it's only onto the clone. Looking to potentially find an angle. Xiao gets the slow onto Ben, who was looking for his own potential ingress. Can't quite find it. Breathe, lacerate, straight counter step. Weaver's wall splits off on. I think that's dead, Rel.
On, flashes out. He doesn't manage to get caught by the Ambassador.
Breathe gets into the backside, but then has to flash away as Bin starts seeing his own angle. He's going to be a little bit split off himself as Tien gets a decent amount of space. Crisp can't really find his own angle, but Shadow now potentially in danger himself. The Cyclone down, looking for a weirding as Knight can't find that much value when Shadow is dead. It's a messy fight back and forth as people pick and engage and have to back on out. Blast Cone available for Bin. Does get out somewhat to safety, but Xiaohu rather, is waiting, but has the Hallowed Mist and gets a skip and slash over the wall.
I thought On was dead, but honestly, taking most of his HP is still a good prize. And then Shadow goes too deep again. You know, between yesterday and today, Shadow's been looking really poor in his mid-fight decision-making, which is something he was so good at before. Baron will be the prize for Weibo. Great pick-off time after time. Xiaohu, I think, somehow getting the knockback from the wall to activate his own E there as well. It wasn't actually the seismic shove, I don't think, which ended up getting that stun. Hopefully we'll see a replay. Baron claimed by Weibo, and that's a huge win. It looked like the tide was turning a little bit towards BLG in the last 5-10 minutes. No more with that big objective claim by Weibo.
Elk resets and gets Infinity Edge, so that might change things in 45 seconds when the dragon spawns. Weibo may be forced to go play around that rather than the Baron shove, and they are in the river now.
But my worry is for Elk with this build again. You know, Tien's got 3,000 HP, he has the Steel Caps, he has Deadman's Plate. He's actually really tanky against the Yunara. I don't think Elk is going to be able to shred through him as if he did have, again, that Blade build, which we were talking about earlier. Potentially that would be the difference maker. Weibo, I think they're much happier to play front to back right now. They have an Alistair and a Trundle who are much more tanky than the Wukong and the Rel.
You do at least have burn builds on the Aurora. You have got at least got a Gwen and the Wukong as well, are pretty good in tanks as well. So you have got ways to manage the HP stackers. Exhaust onto Knight from Chris. Trying to get on top of the bunny. Does met the knock up there with the pulverize in the head, but turnaround comes from forward.
Shadow!
Oh, nearly, but Xiaohu very crisp with his unraveled earth, and Shadow falls for the attempted engage. Chris does go down to the between worlds. TN trying to get some value as Knight tries to escape and does so. Back end goes Breathe. Bin with the hallowed mist. It's about to time on out, and that means there's no more sanctified ground. And Gwen burns out as Breathe picks it. Light to the backside on top of On. The Iron Horsewoman goes down. Elk in danger. Unraveled earth. Seismic shove is turning around pretty well with the unwrap with his own unleash. But it's still just not enough, and he can't win the 1v4. The whole of BLG just got aced.
Shadow is bleached in the lights. Weibo get themselves the minefield stun onto the Wukong, and the honeymoon phase is turning sour. BLG are lost to anyone's legend yesterday, and the game one against Weibo, I'm gonna say it, folks, largely on jungle support. On we know can have those inconsistencies, but Shadow had been looking so clean and crisp for BLG. He's had a poor game here on the Wukong.
Speaking of crisp, though, that Alice has been pretty damn dangerous, and Xiaohu there, yes, he falls at the end of it all, but that trigger finger, the timing on that unravel, I think that was from invisibility on the clone. We'll have a look here in a second.
It was. See what happens exactly in here. You know, Crisp uses the Nimbus Cloak to threaten there, gets the combo onto the Aurora, just tries to thread a little, and then he gets isolated at the front. That's not bad, and the Shadow goes invisible. It's not even a prediction. It's just Shadow just getting a little bit unfortunate play there. Shadow, who starts up the E animation, regardless of whether he was there in the first place, gets comboed onto it, chooses the wrong angle, should have flashed to the side slightly. And Shadow, it's not a good look for him.
Feel kind of bad for him there in another world. That's a phenomenal angle. This time it's really not. In the picture-in-picture, there is a trade happening there as Breathe was looking to find an individual lane to lead to all that much, and then at this point, Inhibitor goes down, Dragon's picked up, Weibo Gaming firm command of this game as the fourth item also completed for Light.
Real credit to Xiaohu too. I think he's been exceptional on this Talia. I think as an argument where he's player of the game, actually. I think he's been fantastic.
Yeah.
4-2 and 10, 1.5k up over Knight. Now, I don't think Knight has had a poor game, actually. It's just Xiaohu has been much more critical in those kind of limbo states around objectives where he just gets a random combo out of Fog of War. That two-man early, very early into the game is against the Dragon. Really sticks out in Mines too. BLG are now at their worst enemies. Now, they're at late game, which has not been very clean for them. While they're in this late game, they are behind on a lot of their playmakers. On 0 and 5. Shadow, 2,000 gold behind. Knight does have decent items at 3, but will that be enough? He's getting caught out here, perhaps not.
Oh boy, he needs to try and escape, and we'll use it between worlds again as an escape tool, but the problem is we are seeing this Aurora used between worlds defensively.
Three or four times.
Like 80% of the times we've seen this ultimate used, and that's a big deal for BLG.
It is. I mean, Knight's not been able to use it to explode the backline, and while again, he's not dying in these situations, feels like him having to be the one to face check is removing important tools from BLG for the comeback. And while all this is happening too, Elk on the Yunara has not convinced me he's a good enough late game carry on this pick. On the other side, no, Light is 5-1 and 7 on the Kai'Sa. He has been very potent in this game and will continue to do so. Weibo in a great position here. A team which were 3 and 4 before beating FPX convincingly earlier in the week. BLG was 7-0. We thought they'd be obvious favorites coming into this. Clearly not.
And we did say, look, if we're going to be a little bit more analytical, that BLG, we saw the fractures. We saw their potential issues as Knight has just gone across the veil. Chris coming on down, Weaver's wall. Knight does have no flash, has already used his W. That bunny is so dead.
Trying to push up, gets caught out. An ult, a combo from Chris, and Knight is taken down again. 4 and 4, punished for his oversteps.
On now in danger themselves. The Acathian Rain comes on down. On does get out alive, but I don't know what that really changes. You basically are still down 2 men because On's got to go and reset.
With 3 grubs, it's so easy for them to do this. Bin not really providing a threat on the other side too. This Gwen has been fairly muted. BLG, normally when they are, decently into a game, you think, well, someone has the tools to make the plays. And I just don't know if that's the case now. I just don't know if that's the case. On blowing summoners cheaply, getting caught out. We've sadly known that to be a case for him at points before. Real credit to Weibo to keeping up the cadence of plays. They're making plays quickly enough that the summoners are always just down for the important moments. That the ultimates are down at the important moments too. BLG, they're down a lot of gold. There is a dragon in a minute and a half. They can survive to it, but they need to not get engaged on like this again.
On looking for an engage there. Seismic shove comes on down. The Rel is dead again. Crisp on the side will cleanse. The headbutt pulverize. Public execution on top of Elk. And all the while, Bin and Elk are running away to try and catch out the Embessa. They're losing their front line.
Like has another combo. Gets dodged out from Xiaohu. Not quite able to get the smash.
Bin gonna try and snip away. Does kill off Crisp. Not bad from Bin in the 1v4.
Still a 1 for 2. Tien is alive, has flash. Knight doesn't have his ult. He has flash too, though. Elk's ult is off. And again, the damage from the Yunara is just not convincing me. I do think that he potentially should have gone towards a blade. Has himself the mortal reminder now. Knight. What can he do here? Trying to spot out whether the Baron was being started.
Tien just runs at Bin. Seismic shove just wide. They can still potentially chomp on Bin, who's got a Zhonya's. Does snip back with the 3 items. It's a decent amount of work. Halib missed still down. Weibo continuing to run at this. Gwen, who does have a flash but doesn't get to use it. And Breathe gets the kill.
Well, he could have used it. He chose not to. Goes down. I think you just have to use the flash there. Thought he was safe. Unable to do so. Xiaohu's accuracy with the flick backs rather, have been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Weibo's mid laner, Xiaohu, occasionally rearing his head in the most important moments like this. Baron taken. Weibo, another clean skirmish, keeping the game rolling, almost 10,000 gold ahead.
Dragon there, about to spawn. Soul available for BLG if they could only find a way to do it. Have to do it in a 4v5 though, as Tien does step forward quite deep here. He's got a lot of members around. Shadow's going to find the engage on 2. Shadowing Strike, Magnet Storm, Elk unleashing the power. That's not bad. They can't get the kills though.
And the tanks are just a little too tanky. They don't have quite enough damage. Now, what are they down? A couple of ultimates. Gwen is coming back up and doesn't have teleport. Can you get here in time? On losing way too much damage trying to work towards the river.
Get the red buff at least. A little bit of regen from that. On's going to have to reset, but does have teleport. He look to return. Shadow hit with the Void Seeker. Dragon down to 8k HP, and I just don't think there's realistically a fight available.
I think they're giving it. Yeah, they just give it cleanly over. BLG don't lose anyone for that play for once, which is, I suppose, good for them. Clean up a wave in mid lane. Been collecting some farm there. Pretty much everyone getting towards their maximum levels of XP. Well, not pretty much everyone, but top laners both at level 18. Knight was down 3 levels, by the way. The Atakan helping with that from Weibo. Not as much potentially in other ones. There's still 22 petals for BLG. Knight has had to group with his team to look for plays a lot more than Xiao, who has been safely farming. He's nearly his own 4th item too. 2.6k ahead of Knights.
Trundle's also their gold discrepancy leader this game, 2.8k ahead. The 4th item, including the Thornmail, now done as well. So this squishy team, when they are hitting this Trundle, they're kind of suffering for it quite a lot as well. There's a fair amount of life steal to be found, all things said and done. Between Rift Makers and just more to attack stuff. 4th item is done for Elk, worth noting.
Yeah, we did mention that Mortal Reminder just before, and he's now be going towards, I guess, a GA last, but Elk's damage has not killed Tien once, because Tien is the only person in this game who has not died. 3-0 and 12, a player who I think was on awful form for a lot of this split. Doing well in this one. Pillars have been effective. His ults have cancelled out Shadow. Shadow has very much struggled. He's still only on 2 items.
That's so tough.
It's 4 items for Tien on the other side. I wonder how much gold has been put in stuff like control wards for Shadow too. In a defensive game state, often that's where you bleed some more gold advantage. Knight with the Bloodletters trying to do some damage to Tien. Pops that W again.
Well, he can't be too far off a 3rd item with the items in inventory. I just don't know whether he'll get it in time for it to matter.
That's the worry. The worry indeed. W hits on Tien. Doesn't exactly do that much damage into the late game. Look back, misses onto Knight for once. Bin
skips and slashes over the wall. Hallow missed, trying to just buy stun. Knight also goes across the veil, while weirding out. It's little bits of chunks here and there, but the angle, the attempt to step forward is the hint of aggression leads to very little. Knight has to flash the headbutt pulverize, and the inhibitor dies.
Chain would have been the CC chain, has to do it there, and BLG feeling like they're running out of damage. Bin doesn't pop the W in great time, loses a lot of HP on his first angle. Elk would struggle to follow up with the engage anyway. You don't have something like that Kai'Sa, which can dive into the backline, be that ace in the hole for the backline play. And Weibo, real credit to them. Concise, simple play around that. Just play it slow. Wait for someone to land a combo. If you get CC in, then yes, the Talia will follow up after that point. Don't give the easy openings, and they haven't done so far. They've taken the picks when they've been presented to them, crush down and break the base in the bot lane, and don't give BLG any openings. That's important.
Arm guard for the Talia, for the Kai'Sa, GA for this Ambessa, making it quite hard to get these kills in good order, especially with the mobility, for the damage elsewhere, buying time for other carries to do damage. Be a big deal. That's not the case for the Aurora. It's not the case for Elk either, who's pretty close in gold, in fairness, only 100 or so behind, so should realistically have that last item soon, but I just don't know how much difference it's going to make.
Yeah, and the other thing is, you know, you say they're close in gold. Who do you take out of a full build AD carry? I would choose the Kai'Sa. I don't think that the Nymaera has an easy time getting to the backline. Trying to jump forwards through the Talia minefield when you're already quite low damage, low range rather, and low mobility, makes it very hard to play into that late game. GA has been completed from Elk, but GA is normally great when you're ahead of the game. Now, maybe it allows you to play a little more aggressively. I don't think this is a great damage break point. It's not like a Bloodthirst, which allows you to out-damage and out-heal sometimes the Trundle or the Ambassador if they jump onto you as well. Speaking of that Ambassador, they also have forearms. They have a GA, and I trust them with that a lot more, because they actually have the health and the shields to make the use of it.
Baron, minute and a half. Dragon, similar, slightly beforehand. There are a number of options there. Shadow, who's even managed to get himself towards an elixir of sorcery. Just have a little bit of extra oomph in the back pocket.
And sometimes help you with that one, can't it?
Falls Onyas.
Falls Onyas for light means that it is even harder to burst them out. If you get onto them with a good Cyclone, a good Aurora combo, perhaps an important skill shot ends up going awry at that point. Dragon in under a minute. Now, BLG, presumably they fight for this one. They don't want to give that over, considering how hard it's been to finish off this goddamn tanky front jungle support already. You don't want to give that one over. Trying to fight for vision and bot side, though, but Weibo not giving it easily.
I will say, though, is it has now crested 40 minutes for all the Weibo have been in charge of this game on the whole. Oh, nearly caught out, breathe on a flank angle. Game hasn't ended yet, and goal difference has been a lot less this late in the game. Not late enough. Knight with his own Electro Sorcery will now spot out Breathe! He gets into the backside. Knight gets over the wall, but again, it's defensive between worlds.
Ah, that's a real problem. Level 16 makes it a shorter cooldown, but not 10 seconds short cooldown. And better for the Aurora's ultimate more important than Weibo's Ambassador ultimate.
Elk also burned his ult. That's a big one as well. That's equivalent of losing Zeri ult for nothing. They lose Soul.
They lose the Soul. They're trying to position around the Baron, invite Weibo into them, but surely Weibo could just push down mid lane if they really wanted to. Going on to Crisp.
Tanky enough to down the ult, be okay with it. Look at On, potential angle here.
Flash Magnet
Find a moment. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, see what he can do. Some wards on the flank now. Where's Bin when he's coming through? He's recalling. Will Weibo have the inside track into mid lane if they want to do so? On the other side of it, they could also just go up towards the Baron itself.
I'm still here.
On is still there. Yeah, he is trying his best secret agent impression. Bin clearing out the mid wave. Not on a great flank angle right now, which I think BLG would need win a late game fight here.
On has teleport. Could always look to find those creative flank angles a little later. Those wards over by Raptors, down a little deeper as well from the entrance from the base. Doing BLG some favors here, and they have at least managed to get to the point where they are managing to get some key items in. That is a 4-item Gwen. That is a big deal. You have got full build on this Nymaera. And Weibo, 42 minutes in, haven't ended the game despite 2 Barons. For all we've been praising them, they also haven't ended it.
That is true. And that does mean one big enough fight makes this game very, very different. You see that Tien there walking up. Tien does not give a damn. The upgraded boots really help. Chris getting a combo into On. W landing onto Shadow in the backline.
Crisp's going to have to flash out as Elk just starts unleashing on him. That one's hurt. Now got the ult back up, but didn't for all that moment.
Knight's W poke is really landing, though. He's landed 3 or 4 in the last minute. Where's the next one going to come from? Doesn't land on tonight this time.
Baron's also started by the TPing into the base. Tried to buy some time as On goes down. And already Breathe is in the base. 4v4 around the Baron. Could look to try and steal it. Wukong gets it. They will manage to try and reset potentially for Elk caught in the back of the Baron. Bit takes one with him, but it's only the Alistair. Knight goes across the veil. That is still a very dead Nymaera who can flash all she wants. There's a seismic shove. Light gets to go on a killer instinct. Flashes on forward, makes it rain. Shadow will enjoy the pour afterwards. Does get a Cyclone down that buys a bit of space, but Tien just flashes on over and hits him over the head with a club.
And the defense of the base now will be a 1v3. Xiaohu, importantly, alive. BLG relying on Bin, who had to teleport away to try and save the base. Did manage to do so. Teleport in from Xiaohu now. He'll probably get himself an elixir. Look for the game end. Death time is On. Will be alive. Will have Flash Magnet Storm. Perhaps that's enough to keep them corralled just outside the Nexus turret range.
Have an exhaust as well. Maybe Bin with 4 items. With the assist from On, and the turrets can do what they need to do.
Potentially death cap in Very nice damage to Xiaohu, trying to land that flick back. Doesn't get it because of the W.
And all the while, TN, remember, with 3 grubs, just destroys turrets. They need to stop them whacking the turret. Magnet Storm in, but it's still a 3v2. Public execution comes on forward. Bin has to go gold. The exhaust means nothing. Needles are good, though. Bin trying to buy some spell. TN has to back when they can't end the damn game.
The game doesn't end, turret goes down. BLG a little bit sloppy in the defense, but it does work out. I would have thought with the Magnet Storm, it would have been more powerful with the needle work coming across it. Not quite as easy as they would have liked. Dragon not spawning for another 3 minutes. The game goes on. But folks, if you missed out on yesterday's game with BLG versus Anyone's Legend in the hyper late game, we're getting round 2 Electric Boogaloo. BLG in late game have not cleanly let things go into the night, but also have not cleanly secured things themselves. On goes down so easily here, and the Flash Magnet Storm threat is gone. Bin needs to teleport back, so technically a 3v4 at the Baron, even though they started with an even numbers, actually a numbers advantage around it. And luckily the Baron is secured. If that smite didn't come through, it would have been a very, very short end to that game.
Good kill off Elk. He burns all his summons. 2.5 minutes until Elder. It might come down to that. It's our 3rd Baron of the game. Still, the game goes on. BLG's base is blinking. A little bit broken, but it is still largely functional.
Shadow doing his best work there to make sure that Light at least dies at the back end of that. Light committing that flash means that that flash won't be available for the Elder fight if it comes around to that.
By the way, Light has sold off his Nash's Tooth for a Bloodthirster.
I think that makes sense. It makes total sense. You know, if you have an Elixir of Sorcery and you have Rage Blade and Zhonya's, you still get enough AP.
Elk's also just sold his attack speed boots for steel caps.
Yeah, that one helps against a lot of the others there too. But I'm a little bit worried that the GA is just kind of an empty item slot. I would, again, prefer to go something like that Bloodthirster. I don't think the Trundle is nearly as scary when you have that. I suppose with the Thornmail it makes it a little worse, but got to be able to auto-attack him somehow, and the Bloodthirster is often very important for that. Elk on the Yunara did get a good kill onto Crisp in the back end of that play, but he's not impressed me on the Yunara so far.
No, not especially, and I fear this game may go on at least until the Elder. They can flip that, they can still win. Knight is catching up with Xiao, who is 3,000 gold ahead, but he's been capped out for a while. Knight's now at 4 items. He can start building towards that 5th. The discrepancy means a lot less. Say that, Xiao actually got the needlessly large rod in inventory. I do apologize, can still get towards a death cap, which would be a big change.
Absolutely terrifying. It would be absolutely terrifying.
Speaking of, Knight just got his.
Weibo resetting, looking to spend the last of their gold, and they do have, of course, significant gold advantages. There's actually a Voltaic Cyclo Sword onto Breathe now too, which is some extra. It's only a flat 100 damage per auto, but the slow on it means that it's very hard to escape if he jumps onto you. If he pings you with an ult and hits you with that, very hard for you to run away after that point, and of course it recharges very, very quickly.
Seconds on Elder. Weibo are the ones in control of the waves and the map as it stands at BLG. As 5 in mid, looking to fight regardless. GA back up on Shadow. Can look to be a key member as Breed is going to clear out as many of these wards as they can. Flank angle from the Ambassador, potentially valuable. Shadow goes in, gets interrupted. He tries to clone away with the Warrior Trickster. Won't lead to anything.
Yeah, the Crushing Blow quite nice there. Going into Fog of War though. They'll use the blue trinket on. He doesn't have the flash to force the engage.
Keep our moment. Powder is dry, Shadow goes in, Crisp is low, Seismic Sharp on the clone, Shadow just about surviving Crisp, just about surviving the burn, won't bring down the GA.
Then still, he's so low HP, he can't stick around to
Public execution! And they managed to get the GA. The turret about to go down. Weaver's walling. Corralling people. Knight's not involved. The headbutt pulverized through Crisp. Ping goes golden. Into the backline goes Light. Trying to buy some time. Shadow is trying to buy all of the space he can. Light down to nearly no HP. They've killed off the Kaiser.
Elk's still firing. Elk!
Nice! He gets some more. I think BLG might have just found the fight they need.
Weibo have lost the late game. Elk, for all of our criticism, carries the late game fight on the full build, Yunara.
It looked so good until it really, really didn't. They tried to pick one up, but the Zhonya's, the lack of GA. Can they hold in the base? It's a 2v3.
They've got so much damage. I think they can just slaughter the turrets. Weibo need to pull out some magic. Breed's trying.
My God, he's trying. That's pretty good work. He's cleaned up the wave. They can't end the damn game.
They can't. There's a GA onto Elk, which helps. The Breathe has it on the other side. And Weibo, they will not lose the game here. BLG reminded just yesterday they did something similar. Baron is spawning in 25 seconds. Dragon is still alive.
Breethe's still looking.
He is. He doesn't have ult, but... Wait, sorry, he does have ult. He has flash and he has
no
ult. There is a
Zhonya's.
real chance of something to happen here. Elk with no lifesteal can't regen up, and it's going to have to be another fight again. BLG, they pull off one miracle in the mid lane as Breathe went too deep under that onto the jungler. You had that GA. They do end up killing him, but they lose the tower. They lose their structure and their cohesion in the team fights. Elk healing up little bits and pieces now. Does have a tiny bit of life still, but it's not a bloodthirster.
Light's just sold off his Zhonya's for the GA. He's now full AD. He's going that direction.
Oh my god.
We reset, we go again.
It's another 5v5, folks. There's no GA this time onto Shadow on. Does have flash this time. We said they didn't have that for bits and pieces. The last one, the W poke missing from Light's hit. Into the river goes Bin.
Timer's about to strike 50 minutes on the clock. Seconds. That would be a very different game state, wouldn't it? Xiaohu in the banana bush, looking for an angle.
On still has flash, but he's away from the team right now. Light's not in a bad position. Chris not in a great position to flank right now, but could combo into the pit. The Hex Flash is there.
Let's get on top of Shadow, interrupt the Warrior Trickster over the wall, but Chris takes so much damage doing it. My god, he's not tanky till he presses it, he presses it very late. Down to a third HP.
Not good needle work.
It's not fantastic either. Void Seeker lands onto Elk, potentially an angle on in. His TN trying to buy some Knight into the backside, but he's so down low. Light into the backside. GA popped on Elk. He's down for the count. They managed to kill off Knight as well. GA from Light. All the while, Breathe will Drake out step to cut the throat of Nymaera. Elder secured, and Weibo Gaming made us doubt for a second or two, but Billy Gaming are defeated, slaughtered in the river.
Knight catapults himself into his own ult wall with his E, which gets himself killed. Weibo more clutch in the late game, controlling almost all of this first game. As BLG, it has been a difficult few days in the late game.
Once again, the top of the ticket in the Coliseum is a bloodbath at Elder. BLG in back-to-back series lose back-to-back Elder fights at 50 minutes. Blood is spilled, but Weibo are the team, the Gladiators, still standing tall.
Weibo will take game one as BLG. If they weren't worried before, perhaps they should be now. A bad
Guesses in a row. The honeymoon phase has hit a stumbling block. Will it be a full series loss? Sion with the early ward. Gaio is completed. Interesting. Kind of favoring Weibo as you sort of slide towards 20 minutes. You can see why. Skarner, Silas, Sion, their points of power then. And the Yorick and Zeri win conditions of late game. Not good. Our issue will be that if BLG don't have a good mid-game with this Annie and Pantheon, and then Weibo's mid-game, like 20-minute spikes will prove very, very dangerous. You can sort of see that slowly sliding scale if nothing happens for the first 5 minutes or so. On, that's this Nico in the form of Annie. Looming burst onto Crisp. Double range versus Zyra Khan realistically means BLG should be able to fight relatively aggressively for shove. Nice little abscond of Duck there on tonight. Stun in trade, but good from Xiaohu. Of course, a number of our mid laners in the LPL are Silas enjoys, it has to be said. Xiaohu is one of them. Again, he's been on streaky form, but hey, welcome to Weibo Gaming. Not looking like it'll be the Infinity Edge silliness we've seen on the live patch. Anyone see that inspired clip on Twitter? Yeah, that's not okay. What is it with... Actually, we're going to hold on this conversation. I'm seeing a discussion about what's going on with Sion. Why is he so high prio? And we'll have that conversation as we go on. Actually, nice angle from Shadow. Abscond of Duck. Very smoothly there. Knight at least trading back. But flash from Shadow to secure that. Or at least attempt to. I think the smite was good enough. It's going to start at the red buff now as well. And Tien's going to be forced out of the jungle. The priority of the Yorick and the Annie allowing the invade. Elk flashing away bot side and ghosting as well as Crisp steps on. Tien is here. Shadow also going to get slowed down by the upheaval. Xiao, who could trade on tonight using a lot of that HP bar. Well, missing the disintegrate is Knight, and Xiao, who looking to trade back, has got the door and shield, so we'll actually regen a lot more here as Knight's got no mana. And Xiao should be able to force the reset and get this wave shoved. Let's get a hold of this Scuttle Crab. Most of a quadrant to work with. Xiao needs to be a little bit wary, and as that's for that reason, the opposite side of the lane to where Shadow could have been. But yes, to return to it, what is it with Sion being the #1 pick ban top laner? What makes him so powerful? Really oppressive, one of the few tanks that lanes really aggressively and actually has enough damage to be a genuine threat if he gets a lead. He can be a carry on a tank roll, which is kind of bizarre to think about.
His level 3 is really high depth, and I think the big thing about Sion compared to many others is his wave clear is really good really early into the game. Not many tanks have good wave clear and also hyperscale. Like, Udyr as a wave clear tank doesn't hyperscale. Sion as a wave clear tank that does that very well, and unlike some other champions, if you try and walk past him into a turret to try and get plates off of it, he can stop you from doing that too with his CC, because he clears out waves so quickly and then can lock you up under turrets. Very, very annoying. And you're absolutely right about his damage too. Breathe will be stopped from recalling there. And just one last point on the meta thing too. He only has a couple of answers available to him, which in Fearless don't last. So Trundle is either permabanned or is played once and then, as in last game, and then you Sion. Stuff like the Gwen as well. I'd say Gwen and Trundle are the two biggest answers to him. Now, both of them gone. I even say that Gwen is actually not the best into Sion actual laning phase. It's later into the game, at least you can counter him late. Yeah. But basically, anti-tank options are not that fantastic right now, and often in Fearless, you lose them.
Yeah, Jax has fallen away from favor. Fiora, Camille feels too
Sundered
difficult
Sky.
to play. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. All of these things, you're looking at your traditional anti-Sion options, and majority of them are too difficult to execute on right now. Yorick isn't a bad option to be fair.
If you're a good Yorick player, yeah.
That might be the decision-making. Finn has managed to find some actually good team fight Yorick, to be honest.
The other thing too is obviously lane swaps are still around post 3.5 minutes, so having to dive him sucks. He'll at least be able to pick up the wave. Now, lane swaps aren't as prevalent as they were, so it's not like it's the be-all and end-all of him, but it's still an extra bonus. And yeah, I think compared to Ornn, you're just a little stronger, a little earlier into the game as an individual carry, I suppose, threat in terms of the ability to just lock down a front line and be a damage threat.
Last thoughts. Well, passive allows you to play weak side even if you die to clear the wave.
I literally just
I know I did, but I was in the other
Okay, alright, make your point.
And the other thing is, of course, you've got a global in your ult, which is
That's true.
ridiculous.
Okay, you know what? God damn it. I was always thinking about doing that, but I was like, oh, then we're just talking about 5 minutes about Sion. Turns out, Sion's really important. You're absolutely right. It's very easy to respond there. Shadow's going to potentially jump forwards. Doesn't have flash. Tien does.
Doesn't want to drive through the wall until he gets rooted and stunned up, so just walking away. In comes the Tangle bar. So Tien loses about half his HP bar. Not anything more as yet. Feathers are pulled and the wave is clear.
You'll notice there, Shadow using the empowered E for the movement speed from the Pantheon. It's just one of the things that that skill gives you. You empower the E, you get like magic resist, you get more damage for it, you get magic resist and armor, you get move speed after it's popped. It's a really broken ability, that empowered E.
Yeah, I'll also just put this out here as well. Xiao, who's actually been laning very well on the Silas, managed to get some really clean abscond into abduct, smooth combos to chunk out Knight, avoid the damage, and do a really good job of using his door and shield to trade out early, force some early resets, and actually stay even just slightly ahead in a melee v ranged matchup.
Yeah, often the Annie does pretty well there. You can see right here, Knight's going to get a good ult trade in. No Merc treads yet on Xiao, who has double Ruby Crystals, so it's not going to be a kill trade, but the damage is not awful there.
And does still have pot, does have Doran's shield, so should be... I think it's Doran's blade area. I meant Doran's shield. Either way.
Yeah, luckily AD Silas was... hang on a second. Pantheon ult towards the top side.
There they go with the Grand Starfall. Light trying to flash away. Does a decent job of buying some time. Battle Dance not enough to keep Light alive. The fancy footwork will not keep Xayah in one piece, and BLG get a good dive off.
Yeah, some traded summoners. Light goes down, can't keep himself alive or trade back. Light not able to outplay that. Pretty level 6, quite a vulnerable champion is Xayah to dives at some point, especially when you make sure you're not going into those feathers. Teleport towards the top side from the Rakan support teleport. Tries to hold the wave, I suppose. Not going to be completely able to do that. The minions will die to the tower.
It's going to be one lost actually. Pretty
yeah, it's not bad actually. Okay,
saves
the cannon. And actually, that no credit to him. It managed to drag her up, drags it out of turret. That can be a frozen wave now, actually, if they want it to be. As it stands, though, Rob's being started. No response from BLG. My worry was you freeze the wave, BLG will punish you by fighting over the grubs. They're not in position to do so, so Wave will get the best of both worlds here.
And they burn quite a lot of summoners. They burn Shadow's ultimate, burn Shadow's flag. I don't think it would be that simple to come and fight anymore. So in the end, it'll sort of be one kill for grubs trade. And in fairness, it's a good kill to give over. It allows Elk to reset with a BF sword. Has already got a cull stacking. If your Zeri needs to be the win condition, this is a good way to get your Zeri to be a win condition.
It's really hot.
It is.
I'm just sat here like, wow.
Feeling hot,
I'm actually
hot,
wondering
hot.
if the fan we've got set up is actually blowing hot air from the hot side of the room to the other side of it. But sadly, folks,
It's all hot air, Alex.
It's all hot air, and it's too late to serve that now. For those of you, it's currently Europe's 4th heat wave of the year. It's a bit too many, if you ask me. And
it's not right.
And you know,
it's not proper.
I can survive it for a bit, but with in a country which has 0 air conditioning, it's really quite hard to escape this stuff, which is really kind of annoying.
And again, we've got 2 of us yapping. We're spewing hot air all the time.
Yeah.
It's literally the
And
job.
look, it's okay if you're doing bits and pieces. Shahu's not going to throw the E back out at him. It's a little bit harder when you've got to try and play bloody attention to top-level League of Legends play and actually give decent thoughts on it. I know, it's crazy, right?
Casting NLC last night was a very weird series, and I have to say I wasn't that impressed with my cast pack. It was so bloody sweaty. Shout out to Troublelink, who kept me in one piece.
Yeah, just an extra difficulty modifier on top. But anyway, we'll stop bemoaning the situation, I suppose. Like pushing in the spot side.
How's the weather?
Hot, Sam. In fact, that's exactly what we've just been talking about, Sam. It's hot. Damn hot. Anything else interesting to talk about? World of Ages Silas build, none of that Protobelt stuff, going towards a tankier Silas build. Dragon started up.
That's
BLG,
interesting.
BLG not going to contest this right now. Shadow does have ult in like 30 seconds. I think Dragon's down by that point.
Shadow is just roaming on down here, and they pull off the dragon. They don't feel safe enough to start it. Going to realistically lead to all that much. It's another early game where things have been kind of slow. It was later on that things really got rolling. And there was an interesting level 1 last game this time around. Aggressive play bot side-ish, but that's kind of been it. Invade from Shadow, got himself some Krugs and a red buff, but Tien's kind of stabilized, honestly. And it's not led to very much of a difference. BLG up about 800 gold, and that's decent enough, but it's not really game-breaking, to say the least.
No, not yet. I mean, Zeri gets to free fire. Zeri is a Zeri. There isn't a huge amount of damage from Weibo if Zeri gets to start free firing onto them. Of course, Zeri, unlike Yunara, is someone that can get some good lifesteal later into the build. Or, I'm not going to lie, I think Yunara should build more lifesteal. I think that's a problem with players, not necessarily, even if it's not quote-unquote optimal. You know, lifesteal's important for late-game AD carries. If Elk gets towards Yuntal, i.e. a armor pen item, Bloodthirster, or whatever, I think you're happy. Of course, you often want a Hurricane in there too, but I think if you get yourself to 4 items, Zeri can pretty much solo carry this game.
Shadow's going to get the first dragon of the game. Again, 30 stacks left on that cull before that cashed in, already up 700 gold. There's 10 CS lead there. That will accelerate with that as well if you can start getting towards good item breakpoints ahead of curve. Life feels pretty right there now. Trading well onto Crisp. Again, you have got that Nico in part to buy Zeri lane priority, and it's been done well.
Call out in chat basically saying Elk not having cleanse could be an issue if Chris manages to get himself onto that target. True, but I would imagine he goes QSS later anyway. So you go towards QSS because that'll help with the Skarner ult too. You know, the only thing which can get rid of those suppressions nowadays. Mikhails doesn't do that, of course.
Forget that Mikhails can't help you with that, actually.
I'm going to make you feel bad about this. Hasn't been the case for like 4 years now.
I know.
Legitimately, like 3-4 years, it's not been the case.
Yeah.
Because basically they didn't like the fact that so many champions. Like, you need to have some way to outplay a Malzahar ult,
of course,
or something like, or a Skarner ult. You do, but you don't want it to be so available that the champion needs to be balanced around basically not having an ult against players you know how to build.
Because you hit a percentage break point. It's like, this champion doesn't know.
For instance, that was really now against Zed. It ended up actually working in his favor because people didn't realize actually it's not the ult. The ult does damage, but if you build armor instead of, you know, QSS, which is a magic resist item,
you feel better.
You will feel better because the ult. Yes, you can cleanse the ult. Just build armor. It's better in general.
Build steel caps.
However,
build Zhonya's.
It does really apply to obviously people like Malzahar, but particularly stuff like Fiora in the past. You used to be able to cleanse her ult, which was a huge amount of dodge course. It was also a healing too. So there was
Poppy into Fiora matchups.
So there are good reasons why QSS stopped removing all debuffs.
Exactly that. So where are we at? Actually, Xiaohu laning well here. Up 10 CS into the Annie. It's nice to get the early rower. Slight lead actually Tien as well, but it's been quiet all the while, of course. Finn's been enjoying his 3-laning phase on the whole, up about 15 CS. Bot side, we've already talked about 5 stacks on the cult. Already got the wild arrows. I expect with that wild arrows, there'll be boots completed on top of that for Elk. So Elk will be at that really nice 1 item spike on a very good curve.
That he will. You know, just a reminder of Zeri builds. You typically go for the Yuntal into something. You can go towards IE second if you really want to have single target damage. You can go towards Hurricane or something like Blacker Blades or blah blah blah.
What?
Oh, Rock You Like a Hurricane.
Yeah.
By famous hit band The Scorpions.
Runans rocks you like a hurricane.
That was almost great, but then when you stretch that syllable over two, I'm like, I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be silly, Alex. It didn't need to be good.
Hurricane. No, then it's just doing Hurricane twice.
Exactly.
Runas like a hurricane. See, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, here I am.
Yeah.
Runas like a hurricane. Anyway, we got ourselves some inclement weather on bot side. Stolen ult.
Indeed, does come on down, courtesy of that hijack. Staying alive is
Oh
Shadow.
dear, BLG.
TN's coming on over. Shadow's gone kind of deep, driven into a wall. It's looking like roadkill for Weibo as they will bring down Shadow, who faces not the light. Ironically, he's not there right now. Coming on over shortly. Zyra also around on, turning into the Annie. Tien looking to see whether they can find some more. Picks up a boulder, flashes for the Impale. It's the Clo he finds, but flash away required from On.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a fake impale there, but Weibo counter the dive well, letting BLG outplay themselves bluntly as Xiaohu. Great Nico outsteal. Elk putting on the lightning though.
But Chris gonna battle dance away. Xiaohu also coming in, but there's a teleport behind from Bim, but Elk needs to flash away. Damage does go down onto Tien, and that's the start. Nice about surviving. Elk trying to get as much damage down as he can. The feathers go wide. Elk is just running rampant. Xiaohu gets the kill, gets the dash away. What about the ghouls flying after him? Chris may need to battle dance to buy stuff as Breathe turns up, and it ends up being a significant mess. But it's BLG, I think, who end up with a feat of strength from the kills. Bin still dunking onto Breathe as the last right to come on down. Maiden and ghouls alike. 2 chunks Psy on the Lumberjack, but in the end it's still 2 kills to Xiaohu, 2 kills to Elk.
Yeah, it's 2 for 2 overall if we count correct, and yeah, that Zeri getting kills now is a bit scary. 2 kills on the Silas. Xiaohu's had a great day at the office, as we've been saying quite a lot today. Perhaps that will be enough to put some threat onto that Zeri later into the game. The Redemption just used to check the Herald being taken, by the way. So what happens here? Steal on the app, steal onto the Nico ult. Yeah. Gives him the extra CC that Silas often a better user of that ability than Nico is herself, because he gets inbuilt mobility with his E, which Nico doesn't have. Shadow's then isolated on one side of the turret. The rest of the team has to back out from that turret dive. Panting goes down pretty easily, and Shadow, he's having a rough one today, having a real rough one. For all the praise we've heaped onto him, it's only right to criticize him now that things are not going so well. It is the hot seat of the BLG jungle position. Has been a difficult mantle to bear. Working out very well for most of this split. Trouble in paradise, it would seem.
Really good Spark Surge into Flash Away, so Elk gets to glide around mid lane. We go, Light is dead. Wonderful Pop Blossom. I think that was a minion hide.
I think that was someone not counting their minions. Had cleanse, no ult, no flash, and Light could not make it out of that. Non didn't have his own flash or a protobelt to close it in the first place, so it must have been just miscounting minions. BLG getting a free pick, Herald into mid lane. Can Weibo defend this? They do have some decent members around. Chris quite low HP. I think the Herald will charge, but I don't think there's going to be a tower push after.
Yeah, still 2,000 gold up, the majority of it in Elk's hands, and if anyone was going to be carrying this game, it would be Elk. Zeri is a champion we have a lot more faith in for him than we do necessarily the Zeri, all the while Bin as well, going to get the first turret of the game, as he was given alone time because Sion had to roam mid.
Yeah, see that Weibo had to call most of their members into the mid lane to stop that being a full mid tower push, which meant that BLG pushed both side lanes and mid lane at the same time, all 3 lanes. Dragon going to get finished off. That's an Impale.
Impale does come on down into the knockup. Elk in danger, driven into a wall. He is going to go down, and Xiaohu's donated the kill.
Nice, good pincer out from Fog of War there. Tien gets the kill onto the Zeri, who is getting increasingly more scary. But goes down for the count there.
Noting, of course, that feat of strength secured with the turret going on down. Dragon was also picked up. They are still up a lot of gold, but finding these moments and getting a win con online. See Silas right now. Could be your way into a decent game state here regardless. We did need these mid-game moments to go well. And if they don't, things are going to go poorly. And speaking of, Xiaohu going to have to try and abscond away, but the blast cone back means he's got nowhere to go, and he will surely be picked up by the combo of Bin and Shadow.
That's important gold over as well. So both teams finding an angle onto the Fed carry on the other side of the map in the last few minutes. Weibo, you know, it's credit to them that they managed to take that game 1. And they've got some good plays in this first game too, points as well. However, they are still a 4-4 team against the 7-1 team. We are praising them because, yes, Weibo is showing us some good games today. The rest of the split have been more mixed. And Weibo still not giving us the cleanest of all games.
No, they are not. Up about 2,000, 2,500 gold. Specifically, Bin and Elk are very far ahead of their opposite numbers. This Yorick is going to be unmatchable in the side lane. Sans even having to ult away towards the bot side of the map. May well just have to try and recall here and get out to safety. Do so. But again, these leads are problematic. Elk is around here, can begin to throw out some burst fire. Lays it down. Xiaohu on a flank angle. Can he find a good ultimate to steal? Chain Lash over the wall and tag Knight just briefly.
What is there left to play around? Well, nothing much for a minute. Then Atacon will be up, and as we know, Atacon is where games go to die. BLG, this is where you got to pay attention to them in the negative sense. Pantheon could ult this top side. You need to be aware of that. BLG, around 20 minutes, lose their heads a little bit, physically and metaphorically.
They're going to try and catch one out of 3v2. It's not what Weibo were necessarily hoping for. Tien can drive through the wall. Interrupted part way through, though. Tien may now be in danger. Heal comes on through from Chris. Gets to back away.
Mike from Tien also helping out just a little bit there. No big cooldowns used from BLG. Heal, I suppose one of the minor cooldowns for Weibo, all things said and done. In the mid-game, the heal summon spell means a lot less, and Chris with the spellbook immediately replaces it with the Ignite.
Damage coming up. Dragon spawning in 2 minutes. That would be sole point for BLG. They've also gotten, if I say the early club, no Weibo got those off the top side players' penance. Chojin completed. Hurricane completed. Rocket Belt completed. BLG, a pretty significant point of power. Crisp actually going for the first item Redemption here to try and deal with some of the burst of BLG.
So that has been a more common thing, regardless of burst or not, actually. It's been a thing which more people have been picking up, because just the Redemption is such a good item. Yes, that active is very good. The stats it gives you are very good too. Redemption becoming more and more popular. Mako had some good games on that the other day, actually. Of course, sadly, IG did not have good games in general today. It was a blowout against anyone's legend. Look to recover that. Of course, they have to play against BLG in the next couple of days. Top esports as well. They are going up against our top 3. Say top 3. I'm actually not sure if they'll actually qualify for that actually right now in terms of their top 10. Let me have a quick check in terms of actual standing. Yeah, technically they do. With a win today, you go up to 5-4. So IG in the coming week going to finish off a tour of the top teams.
They are. A few more games in hand, has to be said. A lot of that is off scheduling and logistics about where in the world you are in China, what stages you have to play on. Second item is done for Xiaohu by the by as a stack off, getting the rower fully stacked as well for that extra level. So at that point, the Silas can theoretically become a bit more of a threat to really get onto someone like the Zeri and mash them where they can. Second item done for Shadow as well, though, as the Black Cleaver comes on down, and still feeling BLG are in a really good spot this game. I'm not going to lie to you.
Now we get towards the point where, yes, BLG shot calling gets called into question, but also Weibo. By the way, Breathe. Wait, is this his 600th game in the LPL?
Holy moly.
Jesus, man. It won't be his kills because he hasn't got any of those games. 600th game in the LPL, bringing up that milestone. Xiaohu stealing the Spark Surge. Very good AP scaling on it with the 2 items. Can be very, very nasty. If he waits for the Riftmaker to fully stack up as well, the base damage will start to take a lot of health off the enemy team.
Despite having all the grubs, not really being able to get onto any turrets. Sun with the teleport could theoretically join, but they don't see anybody. That ward over the wall, nice to spot out Knight. They know now that the Atacans are going down. That will be the tier 1 falling. Turn onto Tien. They're going to get on top of Xiaohu as well. The Impale after is decent. Redemption comes on down. Tien survives for a second or two longer, but they just don't have enough in the tank to turn that around.
Oh, not nearly enough. They get a clean combo there to BLG. Out of the fog of war onto the enemy team. Xayah was not there. Breathe was not there either on the Scion. Means that realistically they can't mount a front to back. I was wondering whether Xiaohu would go for a dive, but unless you're confident you can kill the Zeri, don't throw yourselves into the abyss like that. Atacon started up. Will Weibo teleport over towards it? You'd hope so.
Like thinking about just doing Dragon instead, I'm seeing the pings.
Yeah, they are. So giving over the Atacon. BLG not throwing it this objective. Incredible! The Intercan taken without a death by the taking team. And they'll take that on the other side. Dragon started up by Weibo, looking to deny Infernal Soul point. The BLG think they can go towards this. They have double soul lane teleports. They could contest if they really wanted to.
Starfall as well. They can turn up really fast here. Are the Avengers going to be summoned?
They don't have to fight for it, reminder. They can just give over the first dragon there. There's always that question when you are here in the LPL. Sometimes we see some of those bold contests. And, yeah. Bold is sometimes a very kind, diplomatic word to use for what is actually just a total int. Not this time, though. Both teams taking a trade at objectives.
Feels that way, for sure. Essence Reaver, Flicker Blades. Both built up for light. Going to be important. What was it? Look on the other side. Alk's building towards the Lord Dominic's regards, and then suddenly your Scion and Skarner are just never going to be tanky. And Skarner, caught 1.5 items, only 35 stacks on the Heartsteel. Not really much of a front line as yet. Breathe is getting towards that, in fairness, with the Unending Despair and the Sunfire and the Bramble Vest. I can see the thought process there from Alk in terms of building in towards that one. Then turret falls, and Weibo still on none. The map is getting very hard to play.
Yeah, this is looking like a little bit more of a encroaching doom, really. Weibo don't have the cleanest ways to shut down this area. I'm not going to lie. I don't think that it is... they've been executing on team fights that well this split. Last game aside, I think that they've had some better moments, but they need to have really clean team fights to not allow, you know, Bin and Knight kind of stopping someone from following up with a combo and Elk escaping it, and kind of jumping over with things.
It interrupted mid-grand entrance. You've got a battle down to safety with the extended rage courtesy of Zayat, so it should be fine.
That shall be. Long since we've seen Assassin Pantheon just kind of one-shot you with stuff like Prowler's Claw and the like. Do you remember that? Do you remember old Pantheon who just like randomly one-shot you when you got below half HP because his Q would auto-crit?
Yeah, but then would like fall off a cliff after about level 9.
However, Pantheon was like the hardest counter into old Fiora we've ever seen, though.
Why was that again?
Because Fiora was all auto-attacks and Pantheon could take short tray. Basically, Fiora could never block his Q poke. Could never all in him because of his own, like, ignoring auto attacks. Stolen Nico ult.
Might be able to get onto Shadow here. Redemption as well into the Impale. That is going to be a dead kill on the Pantheon. On needs to rocket belt away. Elf also potentially in danger. Exhaust comes down. Crisp to the backside. Can't quite get it as Elf does dash away, but a flash of forward for light, finding some angles. As Shao gets got one. They've killed him. The Baron's up. They've got the jungler, the AD carry, and the support. Oh, God, BLG, not again.
BLG is bad late game. They are getting slaughtered at the 20 to 25 minute mark as Weibo pounce and take the Baron.
They are so disrespectful, so casual on their invades, on their setups around objectives. They've just thrown a Baron.
Weibo, an awesome jump forwards, but it's really hard to think, is this a negative from BLG or a positive from Weibo? Honest answer, a bit of both. Xiaohu, awesome Nico ult, but BLG pile into it. The CC comes thick and fast, and we could be heading towards a 4-game day, folks. Yes, would be that. I'm trying to remember how. Look, folks, it's been a long, hot day. Way too far forwards from Shadow. Way too far forwards from Shadow. The Nico ult on the other side is not really buying that much time. Knight's not in position. Bin's not in position. The solo laners didn't want to be there, and Elk does not have a cleanse. Light makes a great decision to flash forward and secure the kill.
Third item is done for Elk, but Baron's picked up for Weibo Gaming, and that brings the gold right back into touching distance. And Xiaohu on this Silas is still going to be a major threat.
This is Weibo's way back into it. They were very far behind. I didn't even have clean target access and what have you. Now they get to break open the map. They have no turrets right now. If they can take down a few, that would change things massively. Sion's going to head towards bot side. They need to make sure that they're not getting jumped on by Pantheon ults and a Flash Nico ult to stop their Baron push. If they get just average Baron value out of this, they're in a much happier state.
They really, really are. They don't need to do all that much. The 3 grubs can do a lot of the work for them. Just don't get caught. Light's got cleanse, got ult, not the easiest to jump on. Got Crisp in front of you with the redemption. Yep. You've got the... There's a Scion, he's not there, but the Skarner is, and they back away.
Yeah, Dragon's up in a minute. 3 grubs to the side of Weibo, really helping if they can hit them as well. Notice how Breathe was not staying on that bot side, wanted to wave clear up towards the Yorick's pushing lane. Of course, Bin is very strong, very good in the side lane here now too.
Zeralda's complete, yeah.
But how do you clear through all these minions with the Baron buff up? Breathe is happy to hold that lane. Now Bin has been stalled in a side lane.
Very much has, and that's a big deal. Buys you some time. It helps get items towards Light, who would love an Infinity Edge. I don't think he's going to have it for this fight, and that could be scary. Xiaohu's going to be a known quantity because of the ward down there, but does have teleports.
I actually wonder whether Weibo should just use 3 grubs and Baron buff just to push in. Look, I know that obviously giving soul point is no small thing, but I wonder whether it's just easier for you to use the buff that you have right now, get some gold, and then fight back a little more later when you've managed to use the Baron buff to a bigger extent. Yeah, and on vision here. Breathe. We'll be heading around the corner. Tien, checking out the... Oh, he's gone way too far.
He tries to put the shield down, is now very low. Going to try and drive away. Flash for a moment or two, gets across the wall. Does get out to safety, but he's not now around to play for this dragon. Xiao around with the lightning crash, can look to get in. Does get on top of On. The charm, and then gets the kill on the Nico.
That's nice. Has Tien got enough HP to fight? No, not really. He doesn't really have much ability. Hang on. I was wondering if Shadow could snipe him out there. Weibo, I think they should stick around and instead... well, no, they're going to look for the fight.
Chris lands the Gleaming Quill, forcing a bit of an awkward retreat from the Dragon. Tien still here, healing up a little bit. Shadow goes on forward, but it's on the breather, doesn't give that much of a damn. Xiao getting a decent chunk onto Bin. Remember, you've got a Yorick who's great in the side lane. The 1v1's are good. Dragon secured. Second for Weibo.
Oh, jeez, this is another late game objective going the way of Weibo. They thought they had a pick onto Tien, and they had 90% of that. Then On just gets blasted. The Nico is a very, very fragile champion. The Baron has timed off for Weibo now, and they're still a little bit behind in gold. They'll spot Bin there. Please don't go for a big play here. That would be very bad, Weibo. There are lots of members. Hang on. Actually, maybe. Xiaohu next to E cooldown.
They found that one. He's going to take a fair amount of damage. Goes get the knockup. Need to start running away as the teleports come flying. Chris with the battle dance out. Maiden low. Breathe also around.
So a bit lazy recalls from BLG there. We'll toss them a teleport in response. Weibo find themselves in nearly another pick. Hang on.
Oh.
That out. He'll be safe. But On, given how many times he's died today, you stop and ask the question, don't you?
QSS just got billed by Elp. We'll come back to this play because it looked like a good pick onto Tien. They just can't quite kill the damn Scorpion.
There's a lot of chain CC. The Annie, the Nico, they both fly onto that flash away from a little bit of extra damage. Drives through the wall, gets out to safety, and then here, Xiaohu, good tank angle. He's always been the smoke and mirrors king. Comes out of the fog of war, has the E charge up. They just didn't know he was there. But On gets massively blasted. Xiaohu, this is one of his best series I've seen from him in ages.
Going again. Xiao's going to go golden pop blast and burn, but they're going to try and turn it around with the quickness. That's a big old chunk in the backside. Knock up onto On, turning it around. Xiao can go golden and they've blown up the Zeri! Massive kill. Silas is dead, but does it matter when the bot laner and the mid laner are gone? Knight and Elk are roadkill once more.
Xiaohu giving a grim reminder to BLG just who they're playing against. This Silas has been game-changing for Weibo from the mid lane. Multiple picks onto the enemy team. Massive explosion combos with a 3,000 gold advantage. This Silas has taken over this game too.
Elf just picked up QSS and still dies. It doesn't matter. I was about to joke about the fact that On's built fucking Bramblefest and it doesn't matter.
Xiaohu, now, QSS is useful against a number of things. He steals the Nico ultimate, and the Nico ultimate doesn't land on him. Steals that. QSS does not work against knockup. It also does not stop you from taking damage. This is an absurd oh my god. This is why Silas is so good into Nico, especially in support. He uses your ult so much better than you do. Gets into position, survives through to the full pop, and the Riftmaker at full damage as well. And yep, you can see the coach popping off that. You deserve it, buddy.
There's the third item for Light now. Had a really rough time in the lane. Is now much more happy. You've got the Bloodletter's Curse done for Silas. That's the double masks on in. You've just had your arm guard broken, but you're fine with that, I think, as this Silas, who is just so problematic. He's just cycling between Lightning Crash and Pop Blossom and Lightning Crash and Pop Blossom, and either one is leading to people having a horrible time. There was a play in the picture-in-picture where Sion had to ult away from the Yorick.
He got hit by the slow, and he didn't want to get CC'd up by the Dark Procession, because now it's got 5 HP on the box now, because that goes up per level of your W.
Didn't actually know that.
Yeah, so it means that at max rank you have to hit it 5 times instead of the 2 at rank 1. Baron is up and available. We are still, folks, it is worth mentioning now though, we are still even in gold. However, every big play has been going the side of Weibo on the other side, really. BLG have been pushing in waves fairly effectively. Tien, he tanky enough now to go into a 3.5 item Zeri. If Elk gets one clean team fight, perhaps our story of this game changes on a dime.
So that is still a 3.5 item Zeri. She can still absolutely delete this fight. She struggled over the last few moments. And Tien over the wall with the flash, with the Ixtal's impact can get into the Baron. They are just flipping at the burgers once more. He's driving in. Wait for the smite! He gets it! Oh my god! BLG just can't find anything. Impale onto Shadow. Xiao forcing a flash away from the Nico. In comes the Dark Procession as On just needs to get on out to safety. I apologize. It was just the clone. No flash required, but still he didn't find the Pop Blossom angle.
I can't believe it.
And they get another Baron.
I can't believe it. Weibo. Baron Gaming, apparently. They steal it right away from BLG, who must be feeling just so panicked now. BLG stands for bad late game. They are not a team which has thrived in the late game over our last few series, despite them being a 7-1 team. They were 7-0 before anyone's legend before this, and they were looking so clean, so good at snowballing. Then the Atakan throws started happening. Then actually their late game fights around Baron, around Elder, around Soul started getting worse too. Tien proves this again to be a pretty solid rule for them. Shadow tries to go for the smite with the empowered Q. Maybe it was just off cooldown. Doesn't time it right. Tien mashes the smite keep and gets it on time point. Now Dragon spawning. Now, and it's not even soul point for BLG. Weibo can choose to let this go and push lanes with their 3 grubs instead if they so wish.
They've still only got 2 turrets. There's so much gold to be made. And I hesitate to show you all this because it's going to be a bit of a hard attack. But look at Stylus's inventory. He's so scary.
So much extra ability to tank things through. Shadow jumping forward onto Breathe, but the Dragon's going to go down as they look for Silent. They just can't kill.
Now they're getting empowered by about, like, what, 15% extra AP and AD, courtesy of the
It's a lot.
Infernal Dragons. I forget the exact break points these days, but either way, shove back towards mid lane. BLG thinking about it. Pop Blossom just get on in. It's a 5-man Pop Blossom. Light survives, gets out, and into the backline goes Xiaohu. Crisp with the quickness on low. Xiaohu, golden, comes back on out, heals up some more. The Kingmaker, stun from Light was good. Impel comes on down. On and Bin trying their best. They do get one back. And actually, BLG with the better health bars right now, as Breed is down.
No.
Ooh, nice low! Flash on forward from Tien. Upheaval. Shadow with the shield vault forwards. Turns it around. Xiaohu low needs to find some time. Elk with the ultra shot laser! And they've just found everyone! It's late enough. I think they can end the game.
Weibo from 100 to 0 to minus 100. Throw a game that had been handed to them. Weibo will lose the game as BLG push in.
It's over. I cannot believe it. They had a wave in mid lane. They got the dragon. They got the Baron. And it means nothing. We're going to 3.
Weibo, do not press the Zyrol on the Pop Blossom. Light gets exploded and the team fight falls apart. BLG somehow, someway bring us to a 3rd game.
I don't know what to call it, but it will be showing in cinemas near you. I have no doubt about it. Sundance Festival, watch out. The LPL's got a new submission. 2 days ago against anyone's legend. Neatly fumbled 2-0 today. To the Rift we go for the final time. Ooh, flashes. Actually, I don't get a chance to give the Gyos a go because On's in danger. Heal. He's in danger. Lots of slows. Can't get the last bit of knocker. It ends up being the flash and the heal blown. Let's crank. A lot of that early lane prior not there anymore. Does have the Hex flash at least. But that sucks. Weibo with the early spike, interestingly. That's Xin Zhao Bard for you, trying to get Prio off the Jason the Misfortune. Use that lane priority, use those early spikes to snowball to a win. As those 1 and 2 item spikes come on 3. As the game gets later, it's just going to become harder and harder to walk up with what is actually quite a short range composition with the exception of the Jace. Into all of that CC, and you are oh so squishy. Blitzcrank makes things interesting. Renekton Sejuani makes things interesting. You do need some items to do damage on the Victor and the Jhin. You are going to need a little bit of time, realistically, unless you snowball, get some early kills to find that. Your CC chains are good, and if you find one target, you can just CC them down. I think if the game plays out slowly, then you're going to want some stacks on Victor, items on Jhin. Play a bit of a slower game, try and use that Renekton Sejuani to give you some early power. Here we are, counter pick of the Blitzcrank into the Misfortune Bards.
Well, a ton of CCs are set up for it. I don't think anyone in Weibo can survive a good hook.
No.
So if On plays well, if BLG sets up well for him, BLG have a good combo to play through there. Happening in this early game. Vani turns out following similar jungle pathing. Tien in towards top river, just to spot if there's any kind of early ingress. And might actually contest over on that red buff. Level 3 to level 3 will drop a camp for this invade.
Shadows understand we're going to head over towards the Krug to where an invade might be happening, especially with the shove from Xiao, who is trading very heavily with his health bar to ensure that Knight is forced to back away. Mind you, in the loss, we saw the Victor get crazy ahead and then fumble around Atakan.
Really rough game from Knight, actually, in the grand scheme of things. Despite the early 2 kills at the level 1. Did not manage to convert. Tien steals away bits of that Raptor camp. Can start up the red buff as well. Smite available for Tien, not for Shadow.
To get him after that as well, they lost by running into an airfall around the Elder as well. So,
Yeah.
perhaps some quite recent trauma to deal with that. Shadow's going to lose his red buff. Not sure if he lost any of those Krugs. Don't think so. Maybe he did actually a little bit.
Yeah.
Knight. Oh, this could be a flash forward from Tien.
Oh boy, audacious charge, potentially in range, just out of range. The wind becomes lightning flash away to prevent any follow-up from Tien. The knock-up onto Shadow is a possibility. Up the river comes Crisp. He's got a magical journey. Knight's a dead victor.
Tried to push up to help Shadow with his invade, but ends up getting caught out after over-pushing. Wanted to make sure he could be there to help Shadow because Tien had invaded him, but instead leaves himself vulnerable. Could roam there from Crisp and Weibo get themselves an early kill on the board and get the flash away from the immobile mage in the mid lane.
Look, for all BLG, you're going to have fantastic siege chains at any point in this game. You are still going to be at this point where the early damage, the early skirmishing from a bar to Xin Zhao, your target access is actually really high, and you have got quite a lot of damage in the early game.
And that's very true. See that even Xiaohu on the rise. A lot of people think that Rise is a scaling pick, and he is, but he's actually a very good early game threat nowadays too, where he can kind of
Tease you up, yeah.
Yeah, he can often get a lot of damage for the extra Q, the extra auto attack. You have to be very wary of what he can do very early on, especially with the point and click CC to Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao Rise, definitely not a mid-jungle to be underestimated.
This time around, early invade into early kills, feels pretty good. Breathe. Waiting for this wave to come crashing in, so should even up that CS. Good charm onto the Blitzcrank to prevent too much follow-up. There is a potential heal angle. Shadow steps on forward. I think Crisp may well be just dead. Speaking of CC chains, Magical Journey is short. Flash away. Permafrost still flies, but Crisp does survive.
Credit to On for trying for the flash predict there. I don't think it's a bad angle. We'll go back and at least take up that cannon at tower. I was a little worried that Elk had given up some farm to make that play just for the summoner. All this is happening. Bin. Some good trades up here, and Power W tends to win trades for an Renekton. Gets an extra auto attack or two in there as well. Shadow not able to visit this lane though. The power of that topside invade which Tien had earlier is that it ended up making sure that Sejuani could not go towards that top lane. Had to fight for those camps, had to pay attention to Tien, go towards mid lane instead. So Tien, good play from him strategically earlier on with that invade to make sure that Bin was not getting that extra help. The Renekton Sejuani so hard for the Jace to survive. She gets up to there in good time.
Jace really shoved hard. Actually got a plate early on as well, so got that first plate. Should have a fairly decent back here at some point soon. Clears up. This wave will be relatively even in the farm front. They're down 1 or 2 minions. You're kind of okay with that. On has managed to get into the river. I think was spotted out by that control ward in the banana, but you don't hold me to that. Arcane Storm thrown down into mid lane. So clear that out, but Xiaohu will overload the wave with some spell flux. Good hook. Crisp, remember no flash, but there's no damage. And I got more excited than I needed to from that.
Sam. There is a 0-1
Yeah,
Ruby Crystal Victor following up on that. Save your hype for later, friend.
My synapse is fired. And I went, ooh, and then I realized, hang on, there's no follow-up.
Can you tell he's a play-by-play first? That's better. Here we go. This one actually has some meat behind it.
Yeah, Permafrost about to come on down into Tien. Is it going to beat all that much? I think it might. Xiao's trying to buy a little bit of space. The Rune Prison's good. Chris coming on over. Survival from Tien. They don't get the kill. Chris potentially in danger himself. Xiao goes back to the magical journey. And we're just waiting all the time. The Whimper comes lightning onto Onu. I think we'll have the hook back up shortly, but no one dies.
That is one of the most unique magical journeys I've seen. That one actually had some meat behind it, that pick off. Because you had point and click CC, Sejuani early base damages coming up tops, but BLG couldn't quite finish off those kills. Even if they saw the angle, BLG get some chunks out, but that's about it. Light will push in a mid-wave, Knight will collect it a little bit after, and Weibo do walk away. No deaths to their name.
The idea, Breathe defended topside by Chris being around. Unfortunately, because of some of those timing as well, Lights ended up with the slightly worst way in terms of the lane priority, and Jen's been able to pick up an extra half a wave or so.
Knight has the blasting one now, so actually finally has some AP to really follow up on some of these plays. Only a little bit, but sometimes that is enough. And once again, BLG not able to go into Breed's lane on that Jace. I think one of the biggest objectives which BLG wanted with this Renekton Sejuani was to shut down the Jace. It always is. There are reasons why we don't see it anymore. It feels like once it gets towards mid and late game, sometimes this composition or this duo really struggles to finish off kills in a way that it does earlier into the game. There's a bit of a ticking time bomb. BLG do need to snowball, and currently they are not doing that.
Xiaohu might be in danger here, though, because Bing can slice dice as a Glacial Prison. Permafrost begins to stack. Xiaohu trying to speed his way away, but he is just going to get hit by that Ruthless Predator. The Realm Warp comes on through, but there's just enough kill with the Q before it procs.
And didn't have Dominus, was trying to hold on to his W for an empowered one if possible, and of course to stop out that Realm Warp to safety. They ended up using it just to pin him down because they were afraid of the passive and the phase rush taking Xiaohu out of the play. Couldn't quite do so though. BLG, we just talked about having a bit of a time bomb on that combo. Get some good value there.
Breathe now potentially in danger as on. Will Hex flash forward, get that rocket grab after, and Elk chaining up with some decent CC, but the damage isn't really there at this point. Can't get a range for the fourth shot until just now. The Thundering Blow to the skies also came on through. We'll get something back, but the heal burn from on to mitigate the damage.
Elk did have the ult if things got a little bit lower. Not able to finish off much there. Jin, of course, has a Cull and Tabby, so not the best amount of damage to be. What happened here? So, Nightblue is flash again. Right, because there's a binding onto him. Was afraid of that. Fair play. It's a good jump tunnel through the wall. Chris Bard, good value from this game so far. Never really in a LPL specialty. Reminder, folks, Chris, arguably into the game in the World Finals on this pick. Gotten a little better since then, it seems.
Good sidestep there from Breathe. On can't find the hook he was looking for, but actually the skies went on through, and now Breathe gets punched by the Blitzcrank. Curtains are being called. Crisp will throw down the heal and body block well. They won't find what they're looking for.
Chris in with a good body block. He's had a decent series, Crisp, actually, on the whole. Again, comes up to on, no flash. That could be a very deadly
across. Ooh, the Cosmic Blinding nearly went onto Shadow with Weatherspoon going forward to the Crescent Guard and get a lot of damage to Shadow. Now has to Arctic Assault away. Captive Audience by Stabber, the Audacious Charge allows him to get over it. Now the Magical Journeying in, TP behind. TP from Weibo a little late. Another Captive Audience slows things down. Deadly Flourish onto TN. Glacial Prison afterwards. TPs begin to fly. Knight's now here. And Breathe has to flash on out. Xiaohu is also around. The Hextech Storm is around. Light roaming up with the Strut. In the end, I think that is I don't even know what to call that. A one for none. Magical Journey. Health bar 3 low for BLG.
Dear.
Light flashes for the angle for the bullet time. And will bring down Shadow.
On his back up here. He has hooks. He has that power fist. He might have the damage to the Blitzcrank.
Rune Prison. And Xiaohu's dead. And now Light's in danger as well. He's already burned the flash. He could cleanse, but I don't think it'll matter. Tries to get the auto back. It does.
He gets another kill out of there somehow. And is that a 3 for 3? Yes. Yes?
I know not the answer to this question. Might be a 2 for 2.
No, it was 3. Well, okay, so Knight died in mid lane earlier.
Yeah.
So that's 1 down there. Did anyone else die in BLG before? Did they kill on before? Did they kill on twice in that play? Yeah, I think they did. Oh, bloody hell. Look, folks, it's really hard to track all of this stuff. Anyway, we are now left in a position where Jin has 2 kills. MF also has 2 kills, but is still behind a little bit of gold, and then the Cull on the Jin will add more to that. We'll finally find out a good answer to this after this point. So On doesn't have flash, doesn't have ult. Blitzcrank is not a tanky champion. Flash forward for a stun which doesn't connect, but the damage is still fine. Breed's base damage is really carrying that kind of fight through there too. And again, getting on the board early, but they walk into a Jin trap, and that slows them down and gives the ability for them to lock them in place a little more. Shadow hits a good ultimate. And then obviously the TPs keep flying. That Jin trap really the thing that keeps things together.
Good picture. There is a fight going on as Elk has managed to pick off Breathe. I don't know what on earth happened there, but it looks like a little bit caught out in the back of the pit, and there's the return of that replay. But worth noting, BLG did in fact get a Dragon, and then On walks up and tries to make this a nice back and even trade. Never mind that. Life violence is happening. Crisp is dead. Light, though, can look for the make it rain. Slower last auto. Xiaohu's turned it with the Realm Wall. Can't quite get the kill, but another TP's behind. BLG here to play. Dominus rolling. Glacial Prison down on top of Light, who is looking like it's pretty dark out here. It's a dim day for Misfortune. Curtain to call, trying to get some shots on down, and can't get out of range. TN gets that one final shot. We'll go through the wave instead.
BLG find, what, 3 picks while we're in that replay? And that puts things into a... What, 4 even? It was 4 for 4. They're now suddenly up. 8 kills to 4. BLG getting a ton of value while we were in replays. This is why we don't do long replays over, like, important parts of the game, folks. Something you just got to keep away from. We'll now get a replay. What happened here? Hook over the wall. Hook over the wall. Had no flash. That's the Blitzcrank value. Probably shouldn't be recalling that. I suppose you did want to sit in there to be like a pseudo ward, right? Gets caught out on vision, though. And then what happens after that? Walk over Jin trap. Oh, God.
Another Jin trap?
It's just 2 hooks in a row. Yeah. 2 hooks in a row. What can you say? Weibo try and pick something up with the white Realm Warp. Ends up getting into another chin trap, gets them slowed, and they all end up dying. Oh man, Xiaohu ends up living, but
That could not have gone worse for Weibo, could it?
that is a way to flip a game. Blitzcrank Gaming, folks. Blitzcrank Gaming.
Counter pick, last pick, Blitzcrank, the red 5 was standing by, and it's been pretty damn good so far. Elk, in particular, has been the recipient of a lot of this. He is 100% KP, 404, enemy health bars not found.
And the Jin traps have been very, very valuable. Those slows after people have taken a front step to try and fire back, actually end up getting slowed. Can't quite go for that retreat afterwards either. Very rarely do Jin traps like determine fights and games in the way that we've just seen with our folks. The last couple of slows have been genuinely great. I think there was a miscannon there too, so unlucky light.
Been an easy time to collect a first item from the Jin, actually into a relatively squishy comp. I can get behind it, especially when your damage profile can be a little slow to come online with the Victor, and you as the only AD, the other real threat. You do want to get as much value early as you can. I think he'll be going Infinity Edge second just to try and get as much out of this snowball as they can. One more CS for that cash-in is now going to spike to nearly 2k individual lead. And Xiaohu, I don't think you can stand there. Glacial Prison, hook, line, and Victor will be the sinker.
Knight will get himself the first kill of the game. Xiaohu, who had started off controlling this lane very well, fallen to 0 and 3 now. Earlier in the series, I think Xiaohu was putting himself into a fantastic level of form. Last game on the Silas realistically carried 90% of that game up until one last fight was determined by Weibo's misstep. A Xayah ult not used onto a Nico. Things went awry for them. Weibo, mid laner is doing so well, but this could be the defining game. Don't let this be the game you remember. Well, it might have to be, though. Might be the one which loses them the series.
Try and jump onto Ben. Dominus is there. Slice, flash, can still look to dice. Gets a decent stun. Decent healing. The knock-up from the 3 Talon Strike is good. Finn will likely fall, but the turnaround beginning to come through on with the hook. Light cleansing. Damage now going back onto Shadow, who does still look very damn tanky. Elk in a good spot to get some orders on. Wimber comes lightning just shy. The Arcane Storm trying to get out with the heck with the Rune Prison. Rune Warp. My God, it's all going wrong. The name confusion as Weibo Gaming try to escape the curtains being called. Not forced to take too much valor. They lose 2 and trade for just the kill on Ben.
Ends up being a kill onto Shadow as well, so it is ending up being a 2 for 2,
right.
all things said and done. Shadow also hit the ground there. There was a Realm Warp, which made things very dangerous for Elk too.
Fumble all the words in that one, but either way, it'll be Weibo who just about get away, but an even trade, but you're trying to make the proactive play kind of sucks.
BLG defend their turret during that too. 3 grubs to the side of Weibo. If they'd taken that fight cleanly, would have cleanly taken turret in the top side. Finn using that Dominus very early, of course, to try and stack up on Rage. I do wonder whether it would have been better to look for an Empowered Q. Of course, the Empowered done so much damage. The Empowered Q, I don't think it actually came through that. But then, of course, Weibo gone very, very deep, trying to close off a Renekton in the weak side of the map. Typically very, very strong at surviving those kind of plays. Magical Journey, a Realm Warp, which is a little bit of a different battlefield. Credit to Weibo for using that Realm Warp well, actually. Felt like it did give him a fighting chance.
Back to live we go. Herald started, TP behind. Bin's gonna know now. Where does it lead to all that much? I think the Herald probably does go Weibo's way now as a result of all those TPs flying. Knight couldn't join. Bin might be at risk again here, actually.
Level 11 Dominus. You really have to commit a lot to do that. Now, if they can, yeah, he can maybe look for that Empowered Q. Has Stride Breaker.
Get the Empowered Q we're calling for. Shadow now also around Glacial Prison. Turret under threat. They do get that. But all the while, 3 Talon Strike knock-up. Deadly Flourish just wide. Elk looking for an angle for a curtain call, potentially. It's not quite off cooldown yet, I don't think. No, so they won't be able to do too much more. But Weibo, solid punch back there. Brings the goal back a bit more even.
I was wondering whether there'd be a Bardol onto On to force the flash there. Not the case. Dragon has now spawned. BLG have much better control on bot side. Weibo have been on top side mainly. On could look for a hook. He might actually end up dying here too. Where's that flash? Might need to use it.
The Ghost to step on forward. On looks for the hook. Nearly got it as well. Can't quite find the angle they were after. Deadly Flourish lands and the CC chain is still pretty damn disgusting. BLG. Game gets later. They will get even more damage, even more frustrating. Right now, Weibo trying to use the first item spikes and the Herald to get what they can to come back into this game. They'll get the turret.
Oh, they catch the Victor, has flash.
Will need to be good on that one. Doesn't burn the flash quite yet. QSS, courtesy of the Mikhail, gets him out to safety. On can't find the hook over the wall, but Chris is dead to Elk. Now the curtains get called, and Weibo Gaming needs to try and turn one TN, trying to interrupt the curtain call, and doesn't! No, he's caught inside his own Crescent Guard and goes down, and Elk says thank you for an extra pickoff. Shadow stepping on forward, Bin's turned up with the teleport, and look to guide back on in, sliced on forward, Breeze tries to knock him away, but Xiaohu will still fall to the big old crocodile.
Well, it turns out the Crescent Guard was a waning crescent as Tian looks like the sun and at least the moon setting on this series for Weibo. It has been largely, I think, a Weibo-sided series, but this third game has looked a lot less coordinated from Weibo in some of the most important parts. The early game was actually quite good. I think Tien's been jungling very well in the early games of this series, but right here it's just seeming like things are going from bad to worse. They take the turrets. That's the good bit. But then, you know, there's already a Mikhail's onto Knight who gets a good cleanse out here. The MF ult doesn't get that much value, and then suddenly Grabfield and Chaos Storm have already been put down. You don't have great ways to disengage from that once you move forward into it. Tien didn't cancel out that curtain call, as you said.
Yeah, tried on, and gets the exhaust down, so he doesn't die, flashes away, Bin TP's back in, and it just goes from bad to worse. The CC change will continue until morale improves.
Come out of the replay and I don't know, take stock of things. Feat the strength will come down to the next objective. 2.5 gold lead to 2,500 gold lead, rather. To BLG. 706 on the Jhin.
Yeah.
God damn, Elk.
He is the gold lead.
He is the gold lead, and he is very, very good against this comp. Not really much that can deal well with the Jhin here on the side of Weibo.
Frost onto Breathe, and Breathe is trying to be valuable. He's gone to the Shojin first, gives up a bit more HP. Cypher go Bin steps forward, Deadly Flourish lands, that's onto Tien, in comes the W, the knock away, the Tempest may buy some time, but it's also going to time out the Crescent Guard. Audacious charge forward, good damage from Elk, the damage back actually as the pop, I think, from a bouncing grenade does some work, the knock up on the Breathe can't escape. Realm Warp buys some time, but the curtains are still called, looking for shots onto anyone they can find, and Weibo Gaming do extract, but at the cost of their top laner.
Dangerous play from Weibo. I think it was actually the AoE, weirdly, I think it was the AoE damage from a level 2 Sejuani ult.
That would explain it.
There was
Yes,
a slow damage. Well, it was, but then remember that, so you hit the initial target, there's this blizzard around which slows you, and then when it pops, it does a good amount of base damage. When you're in the choke point like that, reminder folks, Chaos Storm wasn't even used there.
Yeah.
Chaos Storm could have made that even worse for Weibo. Bin using his Stride Breaker, the point and click W as well, stun to help set up the Blitzcrank. We'll find out Xiaohu on this side lane. And BLG, real credits to them. I feel like I've used that phrase today, but it's a good one, isn't it? Credits to BLG. They're using the point and click combo as well. They're getting the good CC down into the Blitzcrank hook, which makes it less of a skill shot, much more of a guaranteed affair.
All honesty, I thought the Glacial Prison had already procced beforehand there in the fight, and I was like, it can't be that, it's already been used. And that was not the truth. I think what I got confused with was the permafrost on Breathe under the turret. It wasn't the ult. That would explain it. I can only apologise.
That's right. I mean, I might be wrong too. Let's be... Folks, we're getting late into the day. Again, 35 degrees here.
Full disclosure, my initial thought process, so it was the pop from the with the ult. By the way.
Oh dear, it's Intercon time, Sam. Yes, there's a gold lead for BLG. This is not so large a gold lead that they cannot lose it at Intercon. That is something which I've learned very, very heavily about our LPL zones recently. I think that LPL is a region which has not figured out how to do Atacama well yet.
No.
Somehow, we've had a whole year of it. This has been a bit of a track record for LPL with new objectives. When we had Herald, it took us a couple of years to learn how to do Herald fights around the 2 Heralds, and I think in 2023, it actually got to the point where it ended up being damn good around them. Then we got through into 24 and 25, when things changed around stuff like Grubs coming through. And I think LPL struggled to deal with Grubs that much either. And then with the Atakan finally added this year, I don't think that's been a feather in the cap of the LPL either. LCK has been much better at playing around new objectives as they've come up. They understand the win and loss conditions of the terrain of the objectives. How do you leash it? What fights are you looking for around it? What vision control do you look for around these objectives? LPL is yet to convince me that they know really where this objective is won or lost. I think they just YOLO around.
Yeah, both mid laners at least here in this game. And stacks on the rower, Rise could still be a problem. I still think this Victor is going to be pretty scary in this comp. Like, Rise has been using the Realm Warp relatively successfully to get people out. That's 1 on 4, it's not been an easy time. And the first bit of CC lands, and I think people just die.
Might well be the case. That might well be the case, what we've seen so far. Shadow's getting a little annoying to deal with on the Sejuani as well. At least the Renekton and Sejuani feel like at this point are less impactful as a duo, especially with the HP built up on the likes of the Rise with the Smoke Treads in there too. Tower will be taken, BLG take an important structural objective.
Yeah. She about to get knocked up there. We'll turn around actually onto Shadow with his own 3 talents, right? The Loose Prison also lands. All day to charge forward. Crescent Guard goes around by stand. Temper Fate goes wipe at Shadow. Goes about half HP. Could be Danger Glacial Prison. Does land. Shadow trying to Arctic Assault away and does a good job of it. Flash away from both. Now the turnaround. Arcane Storm, Crescent Guard. Curtain Call, rather, is the one we're looking for. The Room Warp out to safety. Realm Warp, my days.
I'm so sorry.
You genuinely should never have told me this.
Yeah,
I never had a problem.
No, never. It was an entirely me thing. I know exactly what the ability is called. I just somehow call it Room Warp and Realm Prison. Oh, God. The Chaos Storm just short there. Would have picked up the kill onto Chris, but even with one tick there, I don't know whether Chris had healed. Don't think he did. Would have died unless he flashed out of it. Atacom started up. BLG do not have Chaos Storm. They do not have Curtain Call. I think BLG might just have to give this one up. They're teleporting. No, are they? No, that was the acceleration gate down there.
Maybe.
BLG going up there, but it's going to go down before BLG are there.
Wow, there you go. The price. The Flame Shadow! No, it's not. He just Arctic Assaults in and commits egregious violence. The gravity field after times out the magical journey. Shadow is following, and it's just gone from bad to worse.
The Intercon strikes Weibo, not BLG, as Shadow gets the steal, and the objective which the LPL fears the most goes the way of BLG.
I can't believe it. I mean, I can, but I can't believe it.
Just pack up, go home. LPL has decided that Atacon has decided this game.
I think I hated everything about what I just saw.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, God, Weibo, I thought they'd got it. It was such a fast take of the Atacon. They had so many people going up there first. Dragon now started by BLG, and, well, you can't throw at the Atacon if it's the enemy team that starts it first, I suppose.
35 head, they will claim that red buff and head back on over. That soul point as well, it just goes from bad to worse. There is kicking someone as well. They're down, and then there's like stomping on their face.
I can't believe it, folks. It's an LPL special. He just cues in and he gets the frickin' smite. Doesn't hit with anything else. It's a clean smite, by the way. It's literally on the tick of damage. He goes below damage he needs to.
Me.
Well played from him. But yeah, Tien stole a Baron earlier. Shadow steals a Atacon now. LPL Classic. Intercon strikes again.
Hello, darkness, my old friends. Bad Atacon hit once again.
Somewhere out there, Simon and Garfunkel, unaware that their song has been used for yet another cruel and unusual situation.
Oh dear. Well, we now find ourselves in a position where BLG are up 6k, but Atacon have got Soul Point, and yet I refer everyone to last game where they threw from this lead and realistically should have lost game 2. It could be done again. Baron was their downfall that time. Elk got caught out around it on the Zeri, and things got interesting.
For all of them were deceived. For another throw was made, forged in the hearts of in the hearts of Mount Shanghai. BLG found one throw to rule them all.
Can we hire Kate Winslet to just give us that as a voice bite?
You're not happy enough with my own impression, Sam?
So, sorry.
Okay, I'll leave.
I don't. He's on NIP. He EDG the other day.
They did. Yeah, that ended their winning streak. NIP on a great winning streak themselves. You didn't catch that there. We were on a bit of a break. Knight 13 assists. Yeah, he's did a good job of himself with the Chaos Storm in the gravity field.
Yeah.
I mean, Elk, though, 907. Redeeming himself a little bit for some poor Yunara play earlier in the series.
Infinity has just got done by Elk, by the way. And again, there was a bit of a pause while we were trying to wait for that clear. Oh, hook. Hang on. Tien. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Redemption comes on down, buy some time. Tempered Fate also buying some time, actually. Neither of our mid laners have joined us, so it's a 4v4 magical journey. Potentially dangerous. Crescent Guard and Curtain Call all being traded. You're going to try and get out of there, and we'll do so. Falling Curtain Call, Crescent Guard. That's a bad one as well. I don't know what's going on in my brain today.
Brains are only half functional.
Is it ever?
If one of us has the left side of the brain functional, the other one the right, we can make up one whole functioning brain.
A singular Hapgood sibling.
A singular. We are like an amalgam at that point. Yeah,
the good bros.
The good bro at that point, isn't it?
Yeah,
We'd be like a Megazord of casting. Baron we started up again by BLG.
Can we introduce
Can they get themselves into this Baron in time?
Baron going down. Tien just zoned off by the Arcane Storm. It's a lot of damage from that Comet as well. He's forced away. It's free for BLG. Do their due diligence this time around.
Yeah, Tien can't get in there safely. Knight playing Gatekeeper well. BLG will get Baron onto 5, and that should be realistically the objective, which breaks the spine of this game. It will lead into that Mountain Soul, which they built up 3 of before. And Weibo, they are losing presence on the map now heavily.
Minion waves being shoved immediately. 2 minutes until Soul. BLG find themselves 8k up with Baron. Weibo Gaming, I think they are looking a little shy in their bag of tricks.
Hook so close to landing. Fooled me that. Like, getting away with a fast one, Shadow. Potentially over the wall.
Xiaohu, Glacial Prison as well on the front line. Chris takes a fair amount of damage. Golden goes Elk Curse to the Temper Fate. Realm War from the backside. Show Flash gone forward. It's a good bullet time, but he just don't have enough damage. Shadow nearly low. And right to the backside. They'll pick up Chris. They finally bring down Shadow, but the problem is the rest of the team just melts. The curtains are called. Weibo take a bow. BLG insist. And they'll force them back into their own base.
Minute onto that Dragon Spawner, and BLG have already made some good use of their Baron power play. 3,000 gold the advantage. Mountain Dragon spawning in that 1 minute would be solved for them. Weibo just cannot defend against the CC chain of BLG.
10, 0, and 9 for this Jhin, by the way. His missed involvement in a singular kill. It has been a fantastic game of the Jhin. So much lockdown, so much CC. At this point, surely BLG can't throw this one.
Like a fanboy. That was a pretty nice realm warp, actually. Don't you mean the rune warp or realm prison? I don't know what ability you're speaking of there.
I genuinely thought he got it wrong for a second and went,
no,
oh no, that was actually the right.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Why have you done this to me?
I'm starting to gas lamp you, Sam.
Not engaging
Go on.
this.
Say it. Say it. Say it.
No.
Say it. Say it, Sam.
No.
Surely you didn't mean gaslighting. It's gas lamping. It's always been gas lamping. By the way, that's something that we've been saying at the LEC right now because someone started it. And then, well, no. I mean, like, we've always been saying gas lamping. I mean, it's just gas lamping. No one has ever said gaslighting.
like this.
Because there's a great...
TV
There's nothing else that entertains me more. Chris trying to get the wall stun onto the Victor.
TV port behind as Breeze is going to find an angle.
JVIC violence,
no! Boy, and unfortunately, Jace loses his argument. Temper Fate to the double cosmic fighting his grip. The problem is on. And Renekton and the Arcade Storm. It's Category 5 Typhoon season. And Victor has a nice big circle to mark exactly where Weibo fell.
And not even... Victor's, I guess, roommate can solve that problem. They were definitely just roommates, right? Nope. Well, that Lover's Quarrel works out in favor of the Arcane Herald. The tower will fall. BLG finally putting us out of our overheated misery.
And Elk 12-0-10 on the Jhin. It was not a pretty Zeri game. It's a magnificent Jhin one, though. And BLG, the pick is more than good enough to see them to a series win. 8-1 they go. Honeymoon phase back on track.
Lover's Quarrel in game.